This week on the Sports Initiative podcast, I sit down with Cat 1 lead pre-academy coach, Nathan Loader. He discusses skill acquisition at the younger ages, the challenges he had in learning Mandarin and how this affected his coaching, as well as the cultural differences whilst he visited China, as well as the lessons learned in his own personal development. This podcast was also recorded just before lockdown. I hope you enjoy. Right, Nate, how are things?
I'm good, yeah. I'm good, excited, I think. Something new. I'm excited to see how you as an interviewer. I've known you for a long time. as a mate first, or a teammate and a colleague, and now as sat across the table for an interview, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it should be good.
What have you been up to recently? Obviously with your job at the academy, what have you been doing?
Pretty normal, I think. We've had player audits since you come back from Christmas. We had a festival and some games, so I guess in terms of the job, pretty normal, pretty as things go, really. It's always a lot of work to pull together. We have quite a detailed audit process. I guess around players, so pulling together information for that and discussing and making a decision on what we think's best on the minefield it is predicting potential. So it's hard, but then we had reviews this week. Give information to the players about how they can improve, and if we got this weekend training this weekend, and then half term we got some games, so pretty normal, but it's probably been a busy normal period, I guess, for me recently.
So I guess obviously you have opportunities to speak to different clubs and stuff regarding player audits and processes and all that type of stuff. Would you say there's a correlation across clubs, or does everyone do it a little bit differently?
I think everyone's very different. Recently, the course that I've just completed was people from all different sorts of clubs, other Cat 1 clubs, Cat 2s, Cat 3s, and I think it's, if unregulated would be the word, but I think everyone's pre-academy is quite new and do things very differently. I think from my experience, what I've seen, we put a lot more time and effort and pull together more data on the boys to try and make decisions on players, but no, everyone's very different and people have different demographics to take players from, different values. What's important? What should a underage player look like? We're all trying to get the same thing at the end, an elite footballer, but different, very different.
So in turn, I guess a lot of people have the same question, which is how can you tell at those younger age groups? How can you tell what has the potential to kind of go through and what maybe isn't ready yet?
Yeah. From
your experiences, how can you tell?
Well, I this is where I would disagree with people in our own building. So my job, I guess, essentially is to highlight the best players from the area and bring them in to start academy football under 9s. And I don't think you can tell. I mean, I've not been doing it long enough to see players come right at the other side. So we're looking at 8-year-olds and saying how they're going to be at 18, 20. Are they going to be Premier League footballers? I don't think you can. I think so many factors, variables on that journey. I see my job as seeing what players have got the characteristics to thrive in the foundation phase, and that's my personal opinion. I say that disagrees with I think some of the people using the club, and some people might still say you can see, and I'm not saying it's wrong because I don't know, I've not been doing it that long. You can see someone at 8 and say they're going to play in the Premier League. I don't think you can, but I think we look for boys that have an exceptional characteristic in one area that could thrive and could be nurtured and developed through foundation phase, through 9s, 10s, 11s into 12s, and then see where we're at again with them, and they're going to go up and down and change. So I guess in short, how can you tell who's going to be a Premier League footballer? I don't think you can. I think there'll be people paid a lot of money to make decisions on players with a hell of a amount of research. You sign a player at 20 for 20 million quid and they turn out not good enough to play in the Premier League. So I think what hope do we have or how much chance we got at 8 to say who's going to go on and do that? I think you can.
Is there certain characteristics and traits that you would look for from your experiences?
Yeah, I think us as a club, we like boys that are good with the football. So we have a heavy emphasis in the younger phases of 1v1s and using beat the man moves and using turns and then being confident enough to use them in a game. So I think for us, a club which may be similar to some clubs, different to others, boys who are willing to practice, willing to take risks, willing to be brave, and by brave doesn't mean just in terms of heading, tackling, be brave to try and learn a skill, try in a game and try and get success. I think that's what you look for, is who's got the attitude to want to learn and who wants to try and who's brave enough to take risks and do those things in games. But of course, everyone's different. There's some players we might, I mean, it's incredibly detailed now. We understand that a player who's born in September and is an early maturer is very different to a player who's born later in the year and is a late maturer. So there might be someone who can do those things with football, but they can't do it in a game yet because they're not physically mature enough. So I think you might have another boy who's not been training long, but actually has got really good physical characteristics. So he might be got really good balance or really quick. And they might not be able to do the technical stuff yet, but if we say they're willing to learn, that might be a characteristic. Okay, they're good at these things, or they've got a really good attitude, and where we can add it. But I think no footballer's, probably a bar few in the world, no footballer is complete, and certainly no child is. So I think we look for a couple of, are they technically really good? Have they got a really good attitude? Are they willing to learn? Are they physically got good ABCs? And no one's got all of them, but I think are they strong in certain areas? I think that probably across the board.
So, in terms of like skill acquisition, that's obviously going to be a large part of your role in terms of helping kids either learn moves like you spoke about then, or ball mastery, or possibly if they're struggling with ABCs, how one of the ABCs. Yeah. How do you go about helping create an environment where kids can develop those skills?
For me, the main thing is an environment where they're not afraid to make mistakes. I think that's key. I think if you try something and you fail, and if you're scolded for it, or someone said don't try it again, you're never gonna try it again and succeed. And we've got some. It's good. You've got some great clips of boys, and it's great to see when you see someone who might fail, but in the right environment and the right encouragement, they can then achieve something. They might make a mistake and they learn from it. So I think that would be the one big one for me. What we can do as an environment is one where you're comfortable to make mistakes, and I think that goes further than the boys as well. It's like you're never going to become a better coach if you're not willing to try tweaking a session a certain way, or try a practice you've not tried before, try interacting with a certain player a different way to get the best out of him. And it might go wrong, and I think for me the biggest risk is not trying something, is playing it safe. So I think that's what we've got here, the culture, and you call it growth mindset. I guess culture, or easiest term to put it, but I think for players and coaches is don't be afraid to try, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Is that something that you've always done throughout your coaching career, or is that sort of more recent?
I think predominantly I've worked with foundation phase pre-academy players, so 7 to 12s, and I get that there's a point where you need to not make so many mistakes. If you're in the Premier League and there's points at stake and you're fighting for relegation or the opposite end of the table, whatever, titles, Champions League place, etc. You can have to be a time, I'd imagine. I can't really comment too much. I've not been there as a coach or manager, but there'll be times when you've got to come down harder on players, I guess, and create an environment where you're going to be more disciplined, more structured. But in pretty much all of my coaching, so almost 10 years now, has been in primary schools, soccer camps. To be fair, it's probably more fun-based and skill acquisition, or at Southampton working with 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and more recently a little bit older. So I think probably from the people that influenced me when I came in the building, and what's important at Southampton, I guess I've always been that way. I think of letting kids try a technique, try and turn it into a skill, and try and use it in a game, and the messy road that leads to getting to that point. I guess that probably has been me most of my coaching career, because most of my career has been at Southampton, and the majority of that's been pre-academy program. So,
do you think having support of more senior coaches and stuff around you has played a big part of that as well? Yeah,
absolutely. I think you'd be everyone sort of, should I say, is influenced by those around them. So whether it's like nicking a session or nicking mannerisms of other people, you see it, and I see it when people work together for a period of time. you mirror senior people at the club or in your environment. Lead coach at the centre, assistants tend to do certain things like them. I think that's natural. So of course the coach I am and the way I do things and what I think is right, and I do believe that those things that I've said are right, of course, of people who've influenced me from when I started here. And I think if I was somewhere else, I'll probably have a different way of thinking, and I'll probably think something else was the right way, because you said I think naturally you're influenced by those around you. But I think I was quite lucky that the people around me are what I still believe is the right things. And
so, how often do you get a chance to knowledge share? Obviously, you mentioned there that if you're in a different environment, you might have different thoughts or ideas or beliefs. How often do you get opportunities to go and...
Do you mean with different clubs?
Different clubs or different sports? Get the opportunity just to kind of challenge what your beliefs are and stuff like that?
I would say, actually, the time when you see differences... maybe in games, when you go and play against other clubs, and you can quite see people doing things different ways. And there's, I think what we've all could learn this is, of course there are some wrongs, but there isn't really a right or wrong in football, in developing footballers, as long as you're treating the boys right. I've seen teams who have clearly worked on patterns of play, clearly worked on specific positions, and the result is that under 8s and the 9s, 10s, is you can win games and you look very good, and the boys get a very good understanding of what a left-sided player does, or what a right back does, or what a centre mid does. Seen other teams who they have to win from 6 under 7, play grassroots teams, and you've got to go and it's about winning, and they're not hiding that. And again, it's not me saying that's right or wrong. So I think from going and playing other teams, you see different ways and you see them in action, and that challenges what you do. But I think ultimately you want to be in an environment where you believe what you're doing is right. And I think that we ain't trying to really, I guess, win games until we're in the Premier League. But I understand that 23s and 18s and 60s you move up gets more competitive and more competitive games, but it's not about winning under 8s games and the 9s games and the 10s games, and so, as I just alluded to, all the way up really the pathway. We're trying to develop players. So I think what we do, I believe that I think you can teach. I think it's easier to teach a player tactics or to play in a certain way than it is to acquire mastery of the football. So I like to think that boys who come through our programme and will, as they move through their journey, whether it's with us or elsewhere, they'll have that from lots of exposure to practice and lots of opportunity to try and lots of opportunity to fail and then keep going and then eventually achieve. I think they'll have a good grasp of the ball, which again, my beliefs is that will help them in their careers as footballers if they're lucky enough to get careers as footballers. So I think that would be the main time I see different ways of doing it. We have been in other clubs, and we what I found in more recent years is maybe it's the role that I'm in, but we get on well with other clubs, and we don't. It's not really a closed door policy so much now. I think perhaps it used to be, or I've heard it used to be. So we do get a chance to speak to coaches and share, but I think in actions at the time when you see it best, different ways, yeah.
Within your role, obviously you get to go to those fixtures and stuff. Are you often taking a team, or do you get the opportunity to kind of step back and oversee everything? Do
you know what? Probably maybe last season, and certainly this year, so for the last 4 or 5 months, I've had an opportunity to watch more games, not coaching, and I think it's very different. I think we've got really skilled coaches at the club, but I think everyone could benefit from seeing what they look like in a match. I think you've got to be a very skilled coach to not change your, I guess, demeanour or what you believe in when things are going wrong compared to when things are going right. If you're in a under 11s futsal game friendly compared to if you're in the semi-final of a European tournament, something like that, I think you're going to naturally change, and perhaps that's a good thing. But my point is, I think you can get when you're in a session or in a game, you change your behaviour and you might focus on certain things or the ball. Whereas when you watch, like especially in my phase, like really more trying to develop players, of course, but really more talent ID, seeing what players will thrive in the next environment, as I said earlier. I think when you can step back and watch, you can pick out things you want to see from the game, or things you might not see if you're coaching, or how does that person cope in that environment, or what they do when the ball's over there, and all these little bits. So no, I think a huge I have got to do that a bit more lately. I think I don't really know where I want my career to go in football. I could enjoy myself so far, but if ever I was managing or managing a group of players, I think that's a real skill to be able to not be, I think that's the saying, you can't see the wood from the trees, and if you're in the session or in the thick of it all the time, I think taking a step back certainly is a way to make maybe better decisions. Do you think, like, have you seen like, I guess you've noticed they do it in rugby, right? And the coaches
set up. Same as Sam Allardyce was a big one. I think in the first half of most games he would sit up in the stands and watch from above, kind of see obviously the tactical stuff that was going on, and then would look to kind of go down second half and be more engaged and stuff. I agree with you. I think there's a lot to be said for actually taking a step out, because you get to see. So if I think from just a training context, where we're quite fortunate and we have additional coaches and we can do peer ops and all that type of stuff, I see a lot more of the players when I'm not worried about if the session's working, if they're pressing where they should be, if their first touch is okay, when I'm just going, okay, that's so-and-so's job to take care of that. I'm actually just going to oversee and watch what the players can and can't do, or what the coach can and can't do. And I'd imagine what you've been saying there about seeing different teams on a game day, if you're able to do that from a step back where you're not worried about who's playing certain minutes and stuff, be a really interesting tool to actually watch what the other clubs and coaches do across the age groups. Have you ever done the I don't know if you were there when we did the CPD, was it giving information to players as well? And it was when you're like touch line, like naturally you give so much more to the players that are right in front of you on your side, and when you do your debrief after, you're speaking about how this play got on, that play got on, you might forget the lad who's playing left wing. And then we did the same exercise where we was watching it on a camera, so you see the whole pitch, different angle, and when you saw a different game and you saw the boy doing some good stuff you thought didn't do anything, or the boy you might have missed doing some obvious not so good things as well. So I think that's the real for our level with the real little ones, but also top end, is that taking a step back and see a different game. I think when you're not so involved. I think when you're looking at pictures and stuff, like you said, the camera thing's a big one. You can see so much more from higher up, but you're not as close to action. I guess if you're first team level, 18s level, you've got to be comfortable with the fact that your assistant might be down there making sure everything's okay, and you're up the top looking for certain things or certain patterns of play and all that type of stuff. Which I guess the coach and partnership thing is quite a big one. In terms of your experience, have you had much experiences working in pairs with other coaches and certain personality types or anything like that? I think it's never really been my role though to like prepare a team to go and win on the weekend. And I think if you're doing that, I think it's important to be sort of to work in pairs and challenge each other, and how you're going to deal with this, how you deal with that. I think, and you're working. I've never really, like, for instance, when I first started coaching, I would do a development centre on one night, and then I'll do maybe the advanced group the following night, and then a different centre on a different night, a different group of players, and different group of players. And so probably, of course, work with different people, and probably more so of learning good practice from others and seeing what, that's good, that's not so good, I might do that, I might not do that. So I've done probably lots of that, but probably never really had a prolonged, this is my like coaching partner that I'm with all the time. Even now, for instance, an assistant coach in my group, but we coach one night a week and then play games, and we're usually separate on a game day because we both take a team each. Or I'm not in a session, he might lead because I'm doing meetings and parents or something. So I guess I have that now. I lead an age group with an assistant coach. We're not really actually together
often to really bounce ideas off and really plan. We come in and coach and we speak a bit after. So I think I probably never had that real sort of coach, assistant coach, being either of the two relationship industry, probably not like that. Like you say, like you're talking about people, like one being the stand and trusting your assistant coach, never that dynamic. On that one, I think, I don't know what you think, but I think the reason they don't do that more is I think the fans. I think in football. Do you think?
Yeah.
I think it's fans. I think it's like a theatre show. People want the manager. Like I'm like, don't know how much can the players hear on the pitch. Any like, do you know what I mean, when they're pitch side, I don't know how much information they can get. Now someone who's playing in front of 40,000 people correct me, saying that'll be everything, but I don't think they can. But I think it's like I think that's why football's reluctant to do it. Fans want the manager on the touchline, geeing at the players.
Everton's a big one for me at the moment. They had Marco Silva there,
right?
And obviously, right or wrongly, he's done well at clubs and then not so well at others. And they hit a bit of bad form. And one of the things I heard on some radio stations was they're criticising him for sitting down quite a lot of the time and looking at notepads and stuff like that. Yeah. But they were buzzing when Duncan Ferguson came in, was jumping around, going absolutely crazy. Now, I get that there's a time and a place for that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and having spoken to a few people, I don't think that level of excitement / energy isn't sustainable, and I think players would get very tired of it very quickly. Yeah. But the fans buzz off it because they think that actually it shows like big dunk evident through and through and all that type of stuff. I guess the big thing for me is like if you've got a coaching partnership, you probably need it like both of them. So you probably need like Marco Silva might be more analytical or something like that. Probably would be well served having someone like Big Dunk next to him that would get real excited and have that thing, whereas that might not be his bag. I remember listening to an interview once with Pete Carroll, who's the Seattle Seahawks in the NFL. He's a coach out there, and he said the first time he got a head coaching job in the NFL, he tried to do it the way he thought everyone else wanted him to do it. So fans and media and stuff. Got sacked after like 2 years from New England Patriots. Then went back into college and went back up, and he said the second time he was going to do it the way that he wanted to do it and the way that he thought was right. And for him, it was the energy way. Like they have music playing at their practices. They run from drill to drill. He'll be like jumping around with all the players and stuff. But that's his personality. I think if, from my personal context, if I started doing that,
not true to yourself,
and I don't think long term wise that would fit. Do
you know you said the same, pretty much same as that guy? I've not heard of his story in the NFL, but Chris Coleman, he did a talk. I wasn't there for the talk, but I seen a recording of a talk he did it here at the uni, and I can't remember what role it was, but he took a role and was manager. Maybe was it Fulham? He started. Was it Fulham?
Yeah, I think he got. He played for Fulham.
Played for Fulham.
He got injured and then took over as manager.
And he was, it might have been there, maybe a job after, I'm not sure. But he was saying about what he thought a manager should be, and he did it and like got sacked or whatever, or come to the end of his time or failed or whatever. And he may have went somewhere else and tried it again and it didn't work, or not, I'm not too sure. But I know that he said, and I think it's before, it's always a good story if it has a good ending. But I think it's for the Wells job. And he was like, well, this is the time then I'm gonna be me, and I'm gonna either fail being me, or I'm going to succeed. But I'm not going to fail trying to be something that I wasn't, that I'm something that I'm not. And like I said, you always listen. He's held a genius after what Wells do. Do you know what I mean? At Euros, and then I think Sunderland didn't go so well. But I thought I like that. I like that. Just the way you put that across. It sounds like similar to that guy there saying you're thinking what do you think a manager should be? What do you think a leader should be, or what do you think whoever should be? You think, well, you've got to be. I think it's got to be authentic. So whatever your way is, everyone's sort of way is different, and you can sustain it. Be yourself with skill, so you can upskill yourself, and you can be smarter, and you do things better. But you're yourself with skill. Do you know what I mean? So you're best be the best version of yourself. So I think that's it takes, I guess, a bold character to go and do what's not expected of him. And I think especially when I can only imagine what it's like when you're a Premier League manager, you know that what the average tenure is of a manager, and you've got the fans there and a board there and the pressure coming on you to do what's expected of you. But I think it's such a strong character to stick to. That's what I believe. I'm going to do things that way.
think it's hard as well. Like, it's really difficult to have those times where if you're sticking to what you believe in, you're going for a rough patch, and then who do you talk to? Who goes, actually, your ideas are right, just keep buying with them. Because I remember seeing newspaper articles, Fergie didn't win anything for his first period at United. And it could have been easy where he goes, actually, no, we're going to scrap that. We're going to go in long ball or whatever. And
I wonder how close he was to change, or how close he was to getting the sack as well. Probably, maybe quite close, maybe.
And I think it's always... I'd be really interested to find out, in those times where stuff is not going right, or it's going wrong for you, who do those people reach out to, or who reaches out to those people to say,
good question.
Stick to...
or you might need change. You might need a change. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think I guess you say you stick to your beliefs, wouldn't you? But your way of doing things, I don't know if that's part of your beliefs as well. I don't know.
It's a hard dynamic in the top end for sure.
I bet it is. I bet it's lonely at the top, right? I think I imagine people, higher you get, and less support you get, and more responsibility on your shoulders. Who'd you turn to and get support? I don't know.
If you turn into your director,
you're gonna fire you.
Turn to your director of football. He's the one that could a week later go, you don't know what he's on about.
Interviewing someone else. Yeah, I don't know.
So in terms of your obviously footballing journey, we're kind of at the end, not the end point, but we're at the point present now, if you like, where you obviously work in Premier League football club, Cat 1 football club, doing well for yourself. How did you get into football in the first place? How did it all start?
Do you mean coaching?
No, just as a kid, what drew you towards football?
I think always the social side of football, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's always one of those things that you just do. Like, I don't know, when I started playing, probably 7 or 8. And that was what I did every weekend. You play football, and then you went to school, play for a school football team, and you play with your mates. I guess it's become a norm and something you just enjoy doing, but just I guess because it's fun. That's why we say to kids now, like I was nowhere near as talented as the boys who were in our program, who were 8 and 9, 10, and from all over the southwest. I wasn't nowhere anywhere near that, but I say even those boys say, listen, yes, you're in a talented position, you're gonna practice and this and that, and you get exciting trips, play good teams, but you got to make sure you're enjoying it. It's no good if you're not enjoying it. So I played football pretty much from 6 or 7 until probably 25, 26, I think. When coaching took over, I guess, started coaching more. So what's that? Almost 20 years just playing football because it's what you did, and like it's not some, probably pretty much all my best friends are from either playing football at some point or playing football at school, playing it with a team. So I think so fun. Yeah.
Do you think that like bedding of it being social and fun affects the way that you coach now?
I don't know how much. It's a good question. I don't know how much of a coach now I am draws on me from playing. I don't know if I can remember really. I think it's more, but I think the way the reason why I think it's important that the younger ages enjoy what they're doing is because you see if it goes the other way, and you can see. I've seen, not actually in our environment, but I've seen when I've not done loads of it, but a little bit of grassroots coaching, and see I sort of remember I seen a boy who I did after school club, and he come off. He was at a tournament team I was doing, other team. And he come off. So he was injured, but he wasn't injured. He come off because his dad was on him, up and down the line. Do this, give it to him. Do that. I was very young. Very young at the time. I like to think if it is now, even though my team, my responsibility, I would have just said, just let the dad aware, saying the effect on your boy, because I'm sure no dad really wants to make their kid be upset and come off, but he probably didn't know he was doing it. But I didn't at the time, very young and experienced, and just didn't have confidence, I guess. Do that. So I think probably when I've seen the negatives, perhaps, but then also the positives. I've heard so many stories. Even today, I heard a story about a friend of mine who's a coach a grassroots team, and a boy who had some issues, lost confidence, played football, and got the old character back again, so it affected him off the field. And I've done lots of soccer camps and things where it's not to get better, it's just to enjoy it. So That's my belief at this young age. I think it's important that in our environment we drip in the competitiveness and we drip in the drive to be better and drive to practice. We have to, because of preparing them for a brutal world at the top end of professional football. So of course that's important, but I think the way that I coach, and do you know what, the way I coach is actually driven by the age of boys that I've been working with. If I'd worked with under 18, 16 something for the last 6-7 years, I probably have a different attitude. But I don't think the way I coach has, because it's changed from what I can't remember what I was like as a kid when I was playing relay, and then I played non-league for 7 years, and I was a centre back. Who wasn't technically very good. So I don't know how much I can draw from my playing experience to what I'm trying to produce these boys into, really. And I want them to be the opposite to me. I was someone who was I enjoyed playing football, and but technically I was never that strong technically. I wanted any elite programs as a kid. So I think I don't know how much I'll draw from what we're trying to prepare boys to go and be. If they're a bit older and they want to play non-league, I want to help them out, and they're not quite. I said a few things about what I've done and why I played, but we're trying to produce boys that are going to go and play in the Premier League or Europe and beyond. And so I think I don't know. It's a good question. I probably went a long way about answering it.
Do you think that not being in an academy growing up and not put you in a disadvantage when you then went into coaching?
No, I think there's probably not a pathway. I think traditionally the pathway for coaches, certainly the first team higher up and in academies, would have been you be a professional football player, and then you finish being a professional football player, and then you start coaching. And I think I've always said, if you've got someone who has the same experience as me, done the same drive to learn and all that sort of thing, and same whatever, done all those coaching hours, and they've played 500 games in the Premier League, and they played in the World Cup, and they've done that, who's more suited to the job? Absolutely, this person, of course. So they've got an unbelievable experience drawn from that, and then they've also done that. But I think what I'm seeing now more is actually different skill sets required to do different things. So I'm actually speaking to colleagues, Ollie, this week actually. We're talking about intern coaches at the club. So Ollie's got a similar journey to me. He wasn't a professional football player, coached casually. He's now working full time in the financial phase at Southampton. And we were saying that the guys who were aspiring coaches who were just at the start, I guess, and we're still fairly not far into it, but right at the start of their coaching journey, is to go and do some primary school stuff. Go and work in schools, because the stuff that I learned worked at some really challenging schools, real varied different schools for, I don't anymore, but for over 5 years. And if you like, for instance, behaviour management of a group of players, which is important at any age through the club, probably more so when you get to those teenage years and you've got to manage these personalities and change that sort of thing. I think if you can go in and do a game with 30 year ones, who some of them are quite good at sport, some of them don't really like sport, some of them are crying, one of them's wet himself, then if you can do that, then doing 10 kids at Southampton Football Club who all pretty similar ability level, and all want to get better is easy. So I think you get experience from all different walks of life, and some people are not even working in football, but you might have been in a different industry, not playing, but the skill set you acquired in that allows you to, manage people or plan or budget or whatever. There's so many facets to my job now. It's not just being a football coach. So I don't know if I want to be if my goal was to be an under 18s coach or under 23s coach, probably better example. I might find it more challenging, I think, and say, I'd agree with you that not having, I don't think academy football, I don't think it matters as much as a kid. I don't think that affects you trying to be a coach. But I think if you're saying if you've been a professional football player, I might go, this is really, I find it really hard. If I'm not getting opportunities I want, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that because I've not played professionally. But I think actually the what a lot, like when you're working with certain age groups, the experience you get is worth on the ground of doing stuff around that age group, whether that's grassroots or schools or whatever, was worth more than playing anyway. So I think that, like, I'm probably at a point now where I've done different things, got experiences where I'm quite confident of what I know and what I'm good at and what I still need to learn. So I wouldn't see it as a disadvantage if I was someone just because they played, and that's not a negative. If there'll be people who have played the game at a really high level and then have turned into really good coaches because they want to go and learn and want to get better. But I think it was Gary Neville said he was saying it almost felt like arrogance that he thought just when he went and Valencia, wasn't it? He managed Spain. So I thought I could just do it because I was world class right back for 20 years or whatever, 15 years. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Won everything, won the treble, man. Do you know what I mean? So he was like, but I didn't have. He said he didn't have the desire to go and try and want to be a coach. Didn't have the desire to go and I want to learn the craft of managing an individual who's got an attitude problem or thinking about what you do in this situation or how do you do this, or how do you do that. Do you know what I mean? So he just didn't have that drive because I don't think there are many people. I think being a footballer is the best thing in the world, right? For most people like football. Like, I don't think there's many people, if you I would honestly say, like, if you said to me now, would I like to be a Premier League coach or a Premier League footballer? Of course, we're a Premier League footballer. Of course. Not an option. Not good enough or whatever. I want my route.
Yeah, there's still time.
There's still time for us. Maybe. But no, it's like I think maybe if you've done that, your drive to then go and do the other is not there. Maybe. So I think I don't think it's disadvantage anymore. And certainly working in foundation phase and things like that.
So obviously you, as you said there, kind of played school football, played local football and stuff. And then at 17 did you come to Bath Uni as a team Bath program?
Probably, I guess the first time I got exposed to more, I guess, elite football was probably the year before that. So I did county at school, but that was okay. It was boys from obviously local schools and that was a bit of a better level. But the first time I guess I really come into a more elite environment was when I was 16. So, and I think it's funny how things work out because actually, without knowing it, that was absolutely the start of my coaching journey as well. So at 16, I went to trials at Filton College, and that was when Bristol Rovers Academy, so 16's program, to 18's program was based at Filton College. So you trials for the academy, which you're in the Filton College Academy, but you're also in Bristol Rovers Academy. It was a big group of players, and I was probably bar one. I won't say it was probably bar one. I was the worst player in the group by far, and I think I didn't give a very good account of myself. I think probably from when I went in the door there, and they said it's not even said this is why it's miles away from our boys. It wasn't Southampton's Cat One Academy. It was Bristol Rovers and I guess second chance boys who've been released from clubs come into this program, and boys that have been in Bristol Rovers Centre of Excellence, I think it was at the time, come into the program. I was probably one of very few who didn't come out of a professional football club into this program. So I think I felt like a bit inferior from the start and just didn't have a lot of confidence and probably wasn't as good as the rest of the players in truth, and didn't really work for me. The program, I think probably, I don't know if I didn't get a lot from it. Maybe I did. Maybe I learned a bit about myself. Because then I joined the program here at Bath University, Team Bath, and was a totally different character and felt a lot more comfortable in the group. But the reason I said it was starting my coaching journey was because I think that was so I met Tony Ricketts, who I've known for I guess a number of years and played for him and that sort of thing at college, and he was and Billy Clark was there as well, so I still know, still ex-player and coach, and I guess getting in that environment, I was then in sort of the football-y environment, and then I'd come to Team Bath, and because I did that, I got to Team Bath, and when I was at Team Bath, I did education, coaching qualifications, and football, playing football. But did the coaching, and then I met Matt Hell, which I'll talk about a bit more in a moment. But then Matt was a coach, and I thought I want to be a coach, and then I did qualifications and went on and started doing my coaching career. So I think if I didn't make it through those trials at 16 to get into professional football, as it were, like elite football, I don't think I'd be coaching, because without that I wouldn't have done Team Bath. Without Team Bath, I wouldn't have seen a coaching career. I think what made me want to be a coach were two things aligned when I was at Bath and I was at university here was I saw what Matt Hell, our academy manager, seen what he was doing. I thought that looks quite good as far as the jobs go, and I really want to be a professional football player. I think every But even though, I don't know how what we were all thinking when I went at a club when I was 15, 16, but everything, you've always got a chance. And there are players who come through, but you think, I want to be a footballer. Every kid wants to be a footballer, I think. And then when I was here, I come here when I did a year, 16, 17, so I was 17 to 19, I was here. And then you realise then, you see actually, as players, you play against, we played Portsmouth here, absolutely battered us. Like, just the players, just so much better than us. We're like, yeah, we got to think of what we're going to do for it. We're not be footballers, because it just, Portsmouth was so good, and they're not even the best team in the country. They're good, but there was a good academy about us. So I think probably those things happened in that when I was there. Was I thought, okay, I'm not going to, I'm not going to be a professional football player. I might be able to play semi-pro or learn some game maybe if I try hard. Yeah. But I'm not going to be a professional football player. And then seeing what Matt was doing as a coach, I thought, that looks pretty good. And I just got a couple of coaching qualifications. So yeah, so that was with football. Doing that initially, doing a foot on college was probably the start of my coaching, or even though it's a first step into a more elite environment of football.
So would you say it was the coaches themselves that drew you to that, or would you say you thought it's the nearest thing to being a football player? Because
I got on well with Matt. I liked Matt as a coach, and I think Billy and Tony are good coaches as well, but I think I had a really good time when I was here. So when I went to the programme at Bristol Rovers, pretty much the worst player there, 30-odd boys, didn't really play much, was sub here and there, and wouldn't really apply myself, and it didn't really work, the programme, and probably my education wasn't great then either, really. I sort of just didn't really sure what I wanted to do, 16, whatever, didn't great. Whereas here, I was a year older than the other boys, so most of the boys who were starting the programme at 16, I was a year older, but I was confident, playing the team. Then I became captain of the programme, done pretty well, done my education well, done my other level one, level two, and was pretty close to Matt. Matt really helped me because I was one of his better players, I was his captain, got to see a bit more what he did. So I got on really well with Matt here. So I think the two bits at the start, probably a combination of both. We think, right, I'm not going to be a footballer. I'm going to have to go and start earning some money soon. I'm going to have to go to work. This is it was great fun here. Like, it's one of the best times of my life. We just trained and just messed around with our mates all the time and did a little bit of college. That was going to come to an end. So I think, right, not going to be a footballer, but there is a pathway to be a coach, because I've seen it. I've seen Billy do it. I've seen, well, they were players, but probably more recently I've seen Matt do it, who was a good footballer, but didn't have a long professional career. And being around the University of Bath, probably Team Bath, you see all the different sports that are going on. You think, you can do a job you enjoy that's not necessarily doing the playing. So I think that was a driver. But then seeing, I guess it's probably want to be like Matt, thinking, he's a good coach. We all like him. Well, I liked him. Maybe the player of someone getting picked didn't. It's like saying, do you know what I mean? It's like you like the coach you get on with, but I people like him. Yeah, the boys work hard for him. We won a cup. So I mean, it's just fun. We go and win a trophy in whatever county's competition, and it's better than doing some other jobs that I could think of doing. And it was achievable, I thought, and I thought we shared similar values as well. So I thought the stuff that and even at a young age, I was sort of shaping what my values were. But I thought, what he holds, discipline and that structure, I think, I can, I like that. I could become something like this. So I think probably equally it was the fact that it was the best thing, and I think I was okay at coaching. Like, I think we had a group of 20 boys there who went through the qualification at the same time, and for 2 or 3 or 4 of us, 5 of us maybe, it was second nature. Some of the boys didn't really care much for it, and some of the boys really struggled to stand in front of the group and your peers and put a session on. Whereas I didn't. I like it, if anything, speaking in front of people, standing in front of people. So I guess I would say talking going back to football, I wouldn't say I've really that I enjoy playing football when I played football, but not a natural, like some players like just do unbelievable things with a football, and naturally it just seems to just some come easy to them, or you're really quick or whatever. I think I never had that in football, and probably never felt like, as I was a defender playing non-leagues, never felt completely comfortable on a football pitch to go and score a hat-trick or go and dominate the game or whatever. It was do you know what I mean? I love I mean, this is my you see players play in the Premier League or see some highlights, think this is what they're born to do. Whereas I think that's probably the third thing as well. I was pretty good at it. Like coach, I didn't ever feel pressure. It wasn't like a pressure thing. I've got to go and put a session on, or I got to go and stand in front, speak in front of people. No, I actually like that.
I got a session.
Yeah, good. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And really, do you know what I mean? Enjoyed it. So enjoyed the challenge of it. So I think it was something I found I was pretty good at, or I could be good at if I worked hard at it. And it was a sort of still in football. And I think that's the key, is see it like if you couldn't see that you could make a living from coaching football, if you couldn't see it, then you couldn't really aspire to it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So if I don't know, you don't know if things work out if you're going the path, but let's say like if I didn't go to Filton College, I'd have went to my school's sixth form. I was alright at school, like did okay. I would have done A levels, probably would have done okay. Maybe I went to university, maybe. And I don't know what I would have done. I don't know what I would have chosen. I don't know how those 2 years would have gone. Maybe I'd have found my way back to football coaching, but I doubt it, because I just wouldn't have seen. You don't see it. You don't see academy football. You don't see people working full time who aren't managed on the Premier League. You see what's around you, don't you? Yeah. So going at that point as well. So I think going into that environment created that pathway. So I think it's good question. But I think equally it would have been something I found that I was pretty good at, and or could become good at, come naturally to me. Seeing it in action and then and thinking it's still in football.
I think it shows as well the importance of coaches without even realising it. Matt probably here, and Tony and Bill were probably thinking, we're just putting on sessions, trying to improve the players, improve the team. Yeah. But actually, the real positive experiences that you can have with people that are more senior to you or people close to you then pushes you in a direction. So Matt being positive with you and you being close to him, you go, actually, I could do that. I like what he's about. I like his values. I think I could mirror that, and probably helps guide you in certain directions. If you'd gone into both those programs, had a terrible time in both, it may turn you away from football and football coaching. Be like, I don't want to be like that guy. I don't want to do that. So I think sometimes we downplay what impact a coach can have on a kid at any age. Like obviously at the younger ages, we know, they're learning skills, they're learning life skills about failure and keep going, all that shaking type hands. Of stuff, shaking hands and all that type of stuff. But you've got a 17 to 19-year-old lad that we in society may think is fully developed, fully grown and stuff, but actually their opinions and values are still shaped to a degree on the experiences they have, which obviously sends them down certain things. So coaches are real important in that, just helping people bridge gaps, particularly at those ages where you think you know everything, but maybe you don't know as much as you thought.
You look at the programme now, and I don't interested. But what was the goals of the programme here? What was the goals of the programme that Matt was running here at Team Bath? And so there was no in my year group. I think there was, to be fair, in younger groups there was boys who went back to professional football, one or two. But in my year group, no one played a football league game. So no one went back into professional football and made it out the other side and had a career or anything. But if I look at myself, Ollie, Tyler, Chris, I believe I played Chris for a while, but I think Chris Lee's still working football coaching. So I think Joe as well, Joe Smith, another one I believe. I've not spoken to him for a long time, but I think he's still coaching. Probably maybe one or two more I'm missing, but there's probably out of my year, well, I don't know, probably 15. But I think the first year maybe less than that, but quite a big percentage of the boys going and become football coaches, which maybe that's success. Maybe that has the impact of the program here. Whereas we were okay footballers, we weren't going to be professional football players, but it might have shaped us or showed us to go down that avenue, which is, I think, success for people. If they enjoy it or do it, I don't know. I have to ask those individuals if they're enjoying what they're doing, but I think they are. And adding value to the game and learning in that way. So maybe that's success.
A lot of people in the world that don't enjoy their jobs that do as well.
I wonder what percentages. I think it must be 90-something.
People being really honest. Really honest, going, I don't want to do that job.
I don't want to get up on a Monday morning and do it, and that could be a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, there's points I wish I was a futsal coach rather than football, because let's hammer it down. Snow and you're standing there freezing. That's how you're like, oh, get me indoors. But I think that is one benefit of the job that we do. Like, I love turning up to work. Yeah. You're the same. Love turning up to work. Again, we're fortunate with the people that we work with. We've got some real good people around. Obviously, it's enjoyable being able to see kids develop skills and try and create an environment where they're not afraid to do a Rabona or rainbow flicks or anything like that.
I say to like anyone who's younger than me, is like just starting out, is please just try and do something you like doing. Like just John, like my sister's kind of that age now. She's like 21 now. But at that age, you're sort of floating around, thinking, what I want to do, I don't want to do that, do I want to study this, study that, and just like that'd be my listen. That's my advice. That there might be other people saying no, go and get qualified in this and go in an underground a year and do that. Maybe. But from my opinion, I think if you do something you enjoy doing, then you'll find a way to earn and make a living out of it, and then you'll get really qualified in that certain area, and you'll go and you it's not. I don't think you're gonna love every day you're gonna work. You ain't. I don't think so. No. Do you know what I mean? But if you could enjoy most of the time, if you're gonna spend more time working than you are doing anything else in your life, I think like more time than socialising, more time than going out with your friends and whatever, more time out with your family. You spend more time at work. So if you can try and make it more good than bad, then I think you're in you'd be happy. You'd be happy.
So see, you finished that program, and then from what the conversation you were having earlier, you kind of almost went through a non-realising coach development thing where you're working in primary schools and doing after school clubs and all that type of stuff. I guess the question is, how did you get into that? Yeah. And then what were the challenges and positives of coming through that environment?
Yeah, so I think finish a program here in probably May sort of time. And I remember went to Napa with my friends, first holiday away. It must have been like the lads' holiday. 19 it must have been, and I think left there, went to Napa, and then I actually remember I come back with nothing to do really. Like I remember some of my mates were doing apprenticeships and had jobs and stuff, and I thought I could have done like, you know, you do like a season and you go and like work out there just getting drunk all the time really. And I thought, I was like, oh, I remember enough like this. Yeah, that was kind of it. I'd finished Team Bath program and then go on holiday, and I was gonna ask. I was partly like actually, I was gonna go to. I think I've applied to go to Hartbury University, but the year after.
The 30th.
The 30th. So maybe I did have a little bit of a plan actually. I mean, that's not entirely true. But anyway, I did nothing really to do. And then I was looking for jobs, obviously, looking on, must have been like UK Sport or something. And then, seen a job or a coaching opportunity for a company called Superstar. It was called Superstars at the time. It's called Sportstars now. A company based in Wales, but lots of schools in England. And kind of like, just rang up. Oh, I can't remember the guy's name. I'm trying to think the guy's name. He's a real good guy. He was there when I started. He's from Froome. I think it was Luke. I can't remember his last name. It was Luke. But I had a phone interview with him. So this is what I've just got a level 2 in coaching, and I've just finished this program at Bath University, and I did like a multi-sports 1 year as well. And was like, I don't know, interested in a job really. So then they had a training day where I drove over to Wales, and then did a session, and it went all right. And I think the guy said it's one of the better ones they had on the day, because it said it wouldn't have been great, but I was quite comfortable. That's the main thing with the kids. And I think when you look at now is when you're like hiring people for jobs, you think, what's their character like? Are they willing to learn? Then the rest of it you can get. So I think it went all right. And then I just started working really. So that's September. So by September, I started doing schools, doing PPA, which is basically PE lessons in schools and after school clubs. And that was it really. Did that for 2 years in total. But I think after the first year, it's a bit like I was saying earlier. You can only aspire to what you see. In a sense, so I saw people doing that. It got me into it in the first place. So it's a really good company. Really like a guy called James Taylor, really inspirational guy. He's entrepreneur. He started his business doing sport in schools. Really lucky. Like talk about like how important it is to be in the right place at the right time. And he actually started rewind a little bit. So PPA is planning, preparation, assessment. So teachers get 2 hours off. I think it is maybe a bit more. They get time for the week to mark, and what a lot of schools start filling that with PE lessons time. So doing PE, get sports coaching to do PE. And James started his company, and before the government bought that initiative, and then he was already doing it, and all of a sudden this come in where every school was looking for a sports coach. Like, perfect, I've been doing it, no one else is doing this. So he did that, and it grew massive. I think when I was there, and I left a lot of years ago, they had like probably 100 schools in Bristol, this side of the bridge. I think 200 schools in Wales, that side of the bridge. And holiday courses would come around, and they'd have like 100 holiday courses running the 6-week summer holidays. It was a real big operation. But a guy who started it with it himself and a cones, bibs, bag of footballs as a hockey sticks, I imagine, a couple of his mates from uni, started his company, and it was getting to be a big company, but it was still quite family-ish. For instance, he'd have a barbecue at his house and stuff, and you'd go and he'd be there and you'd be around people all the time, and you've got together for training events and that sort of thing. So kind of a small company, even though it was growing. There's a fair amount of casual coaches. But you could saw what he did. I thought it was brilliant. I thought, wow, he's done really well. And also what you start to realise is when you start to work in schools, the schools start to like you. They start to like the person, the familiar face. People want consistency. The kids get to know you, teachers get to know you, get to know the school, that sort of thing. So I did that for a year, and I thought, do you know what? I think I can give this a go on my own. I think I can start my own thing up. But I don't know enough yet, and I knew I didn't know enough about just, I don't know, writing a scheme of work or meeting with head teachers. I was conscious of that, but I did work for a second year. But in that second year, I was, as well as doing the job, I was thinking, trying to learn as much about, how do they train staff? How do they recruit? How do they where do you get teachers printed? How's the website work? How do people book on? All that sort of stuff. Looking behind just putting a session on. So now I knew. Then after I did 2 years, I was like, right, I know enough now. I'm going to go and do it myself. So then after that. So that summer, that was 2012. So I'll always remember because I did my first ever holiday course for myself, my business active development, and it was a Olympic themed holiday course. So it was with the 2012 Olympics. So we did it, and a few kids turned. It was all right. Some numbers were pretty small, but it was for myself, and it was brilliant. Like, I thought, it's amazing. Like exactly the same stuff I was doing for that company, doing multi-sports days with the kids, and all different sports. But you got a bit more money because you're doing it for yourself. Well, actually, you didn't at the start, but eventually you get a bit more money, and it was a pride of doing it for yourself. So I think, in terms of my journey, and I didn't mention at the same time, in that 2-year period where I was just like trying to build work and scrap of work, I started working for Yeovil in the community, Yeovil Town in the community. A guy called Bob, who was really good and probably one of the first people outside of Matt to influence me as a coach, and I learned really good stuff off him. So I was doing Yeovil. So I was working with Superstars for 2 years, Sports Stars, and working a couple of nights a week for Yeovil in the community, which was like, see what our development centre coaches get now in terms of kit. Like, I got one jumper, and that was it, an old jumper, wore my own tracksuit bottoms, no raincoat, nothing like that. I can't remember what equipment we had. I went £18 a session, and I was going from mum and dad's house in Temple Cloud down to Yeovil, which probably is about 17 quid in petrol. But I did it. I don't know. Just thought, I don't know. I'm proud of myself now. But at 20, I could see that it was for a reason. And I used to do another one in Burnham. I used to go to Friday. I used to do a school in Bristol in the morning for 20 quid, and then do a school and after school club in the afternoon at school in Western for maybe 30 quid, and then drive down to Burnham to do a session for Yeovil for £18, £18 evening. So it was like the longest day, like it was 70 quid, but the longest day ever. I'm in the morning, driving back from Burnham, like, what am I doing? I was actually always talking to my best mate's house, Mets, Jordan, who we play football with. You stop at his, I used to drive past Bristol Airport on the way back from Burnham. So I'd go and see him usually on a Friday night and just chat about the week or whatever, I don't know, just play FIFA, I guess. So I did that at the same time, and then 2012 come around and I made the leap of faith, started doing my own stuff, and I don't know how it coincided, got back to touch with Matt, and development centre started at Southampton, so got doing a part-time assistant coach at development centre. So I was sort of doing, I guess it was 21, and I was running my own really, really, really small business, and on the bottom rung, starting at Southampton's Academy, getting paid a little bit to do one evening a week. So I guess that was another start point. Those 2 years, working for a company and working for Yeovil in the community, and then 2012, started my own thing, and started doing Southampton, and then went from there. I learned, you look back, you think, well, I learned some good lessons. I learned a lot about the school stuff with Superstars, but I learned a really good lesson with Yeovil, which I don't know if I've shared with you actually, but I've shared with other people, just about standards, and when you realise it's too late. Sorry, when you realise it's too late, right? So explain what I mean by that is, so I was doing one of the centres, I think it was near Western-super-Mare actually, and I had a lead coach. I can't remember his name. Sure, whoever listened to this, he wasn't great. It's just not very good, not very passionate, and I was the assistant, so you follow your lead, right? And we did a centre, and at Yeovil they paid, so it's not like our programme where we talent ID. So it was kind of talent ID, kind of talent ID, but they paid £5 a session or something to get in, and it would lead to maybe talent stuff. But it was much different to what the boys get now, which is purely if you're good enough, you come in the programme. So I did that with them, and I remember I used to work somewhere near, and I used to go to Sainsbury's after to eat after school, and then the session would be like 5:15, and I'd stay there for like 5 o'clock, and then I'd leave, and I'd be like walking onto the AstroTurf with my bag of balls with the parents. And the parents are walking in, I'm walking in, and the lead coach was doing the same thing, not even now or getting out of his car as the parents were, and equipment wasn't great, the sessions were average and whatever. And over time, the numbers dropped, and the centre closed. Because it was a community, it wasn't funded. It was just community, it was a charity thing really. So the parents paid to keep it funded, even though it links Yeovil. I don't know how that worked, but they needed money to keep it going, and it didn't. I guess it wasn't no consequences for Bob was running the programme. He lost on his centres, couldn't run it anymore, which was a shame. But what a great lesson for me was, like, we let standards drop at the centre. Things weren't good enough, and then eventually we got punished for it. We lost work and lost the centre. And like, I remember we did like reviews, and I guess it's like nowhere near like what like we do now. Like, we had reviews every night. We set up and put a certain time, and we sit down with the boys and put a lot of preparation into targets, how we're going to get better, all that sort of thing. Whereas it was just like a thing with like a numbers on. You put out of 5, and you give it to parents. And I can't remember, we didn't even do it in a classroom. It was on the side of the pitch. People were paying for that, and they wanted to go, I'll get better at my grassroots club. So I think that was what a great lesson for me was, like, whenever I was, and really important when you're running your own business, it's only you that's got to make sure the standards stay there, because no one's going to tell you off. So if I want to get to a session not early, not half hour before, no consequence, or I don't see it as a consequence. Or when I'm doing a holiday course, if every single kid don't go home happy with a certificate and had a good time, no one's going to tell me off. No one's going to ring me up and say, oh, Nate, this kid wasn't happy. But I think doing that, I've been learning that harsh lesson at that age, when I was, I guess luckily for doing it for someone else and not Southampton, or my own business, I learned that you'll get punished, you'll get found out, and yet you'll get punished for it. You'll get found out. You can, if you cut current, or if you run enough red lights, sometimes you'll get them early, but eventually you're going to crash. And yeah, if you keep running red lights, it's a good saying, because it is. You can run a few, but if you don't keep things good, then you find out. And then, like, for instance, if I was doing holiday courses and the standards were slipping, then there'd be a summer, maybe not the next one, maybe the one after that, where we had small numbers and we didn't have money, we wouldn't want to run it anymore. The same when I started Southampton, I think. Like, if I was working, and if I was turning up late to the sessions, and parents weren't happy, and they were telling the lead coach or telling Matt Hell, who was the boss at the time, then I'd never become a lead coach. A head coach role would come up, and who's gonna get it? Well, the lad who's there preparing this stuff and doing good sessions all the time, and taking 5 minutes at the end to speak to a parent who's got an issue, not the lad who's rushing over. And then when I wanted to be an academy coach, what I went on to do, or more full-time role, it's like, well, that role's come up. It's too late. I wish I'd done a good job for the last 2 years. Do you know what I mean? I wish it's too late then. Do you know what I mean? So that's getting found out for it in that environment. And if it's your own business, the kids will stop coming to after school club. If you've got late. So I think, so I look back at that, and that was something that really sticks with me from that period when I did the Yeovil thing, which was my first job in coaching for any sort of professional football club, community, whatever it was, and my job for Superstars. Before it really prepared me, I think, those 2 years for what's next, and then the rest was beyond. The business grew a little bit, and my roles changed in Southampton. It brings me pretty much to now, yeah.
The thing that is interesting when you link it back to the conversation you have with about intern coaches and stuff, you quite often will learn those lessons being in the field and doing it yourself.
Yeah.
As in, you learn not to turn up late because, like you said there, examples there, or you learn that your prep's got to be right because of that. Having been through uni and knowing what university's life is like, you're not always accountable for stuff. So going into an internship, I think it'd be very easy to learn those lessons in the internship, which already probably puts you on a bit of a negative slant with a club you could potentially be employed by. So I think having those few years kind of away from the elite environment to make those mistakes and kind of figure out, actually, I want to do this properly and I want to do that. It's probably imperative so that by the time you make it into the academy or by the time you get there, those standards have been set, and in order for me to progress in this line of work, I'm going to stick to those, and those are what I'm going to do moving forward, rather than making all of your mistakes in the academy, where it could be quite easy for them to go, actually, you're turning up late for the mini bus, you're turning up late to sessions, we can't have this, you've got to go. Yeah,
someone else will get opportunity ahead of you, of course. No, absolutely, no, definitely. And I didn't say that story. So I was going to uni, but I didn't go in the end. So that year I did a year sort of gap year, and then that was when I made when I was doing Superstars, Sports Stars. I did a year, and that was my year then to go to Hartbury. I was like, that's when I decided I was going to give coaching a go. So I think getting a degree is great, and I think you'd learn stuff, and you'd want to be a teacher or anything, of course, or other jobs you might open up doors. But I think that was the point then as well. After doing a year, I thought, no, I'm going to do another year working, because everyone I was working with had just finished uni. So I was like, I'm going to do another year, and then I'm going to go and do that next. So that probably was another juncture I realised. So my path could have went back to education, but it didn't. Yeah.
So obviously, knowing you and being mates, I know your path kind of did eventually go down the education route more recently, went into ECAS and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you find that? Because this is a few years removed. I imagine you would have left at 19, and then you went back in at what, 27?
20. I was probably 26 when I started ECAS.
So so what, 7 years removed?
Yeah.
8 years removed.
Yeah, hard. So hard. I mean, to write just the first year, I think I mainly learned around how to write assignments, how to reference, and how to the academic journals. To get information out of them, which is relevant, written in a strange way. So hard. And I remember at one point, almost like, I'm going to quit. I wouldn't have quit because there was too many external pressures around the club. I don't want to be the person who didn't want to do it. I would have wanted to complete it. But I spoke to Ellis about it. He's been through uni and was a teacher. I was like, what happened, we submitted like 3 assignments. I didn't get any feedback, and all the feedback came at once. And my feedback, I remember one of my assignments was like, what was it? Not enough evidence of academic reading, what was it? Something with the literature, something didn't reference properly, interact enough with the literature, something like that. And I was like, when you lose your head at something, like his natural reactions, like chimp, whatever. I was going, this is pointless now. All those things are not going to make me a better coach, not going to make me a better leader, not going to do anything for me. I can't reference, I can't do that. I failed with that. What's the point? I had a good conversation with Els, and I was like, pretty much said that probably. And he was like, just think of it as like you're just developing another skill set. And if you want to be, I was lucky because we had Ed Vahid, who's very smart, and Brunchy, who's a smart guy, qualified, and helped me those sorts of things. If you want to go and do those roles, be head of coaching, I think this is one more thing you can help people with. And I was like, that's a good point. Like, if I can learn to do this. I can learn to do this part of it. And there's a skill that I got. And actually, what happened in the second year of ECAS, I actually really enjoyed it because I did you did assignments that are personal to you. And I got some out of them because I wouldn't have to worry about the academic side of it. But But no, to answer your question, no, really, really hard. And it was a level above what I've done before. And it was like a foundation degree qualification. I never, the most highest done was like, I did A-levels and failed them and did a BTEC. So that was the highest education I've done. So, so no, it's really hard. And also, talking about the age, I think the time was right. Like, I just don't think, if I'd finished this at 19 and went straight to uni, I just don't think I would have applied myself. I just don't think I would have. I'd have been going out and drinking and not worrying about education, because why would you? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, 100%. I think, and not saying that's a bad thing. Maybe I wish I went to uni for those reasons, but I think for career wise and all that, it was the right time, because I wasn't going out Wednesday nights, Sunday nights, Monday nights, and I could give time to think, I'll get my head around this assignment, and I can understand that I want to learn it. I want to do this, and not just doing it because it's, you go uni because it's next. So I think actually a time was probably perfect for me, and I might do something again, not now. Like, I've enjoyed so I finished the course in the summer, graduated. I got graduation just before Christmas, so it's probably only been like less than 6 months that I've been not thinking about assignments all the time. It's been brilliant just to concentrate on other stuff, other parts of your life, work life, social life, anything. It's been really good. So, but from what I got out of it, looking back, especially the second year, I would I'll maybe do it again one day, but not right now. But the time was good.
Yeah, knowing we're gonna have this conversation, I was reflecting on my university stuff, and similar to you in terms of there's some stuff that I found really hard. Went to go and do it. Obviously, I was doing BTECs and stuff, and it's a world away from what you have to do at a BTEC.
Yeah,
that type of stuff. I definitely think there's some benefits. I probably, on reflection, would rather have left it a few years, because I feel like that would have benefited me more, because I probably would have really bought into the whole doing assignments and being able to relate it to stuff. Whereas when I was at uni, I was doing coaching, community coaching, similar to you, along the side of it.
And football, you still playing football? You come straight from a pro club to uni, right?
So I was still
the program here was quite important.
Yeah,
training 3 or 4 times a week.
That was the reason I came. I came initially because it was a team bar football thing. So that folded literally.
And that would have been my reason for doing it.
Yeah.
When I was there.
I came for the football. I worked alongside a little bit, and then was like, I'll do the education, because I'd always been okay academically. And I thought I'll put my head down and do it. I think if I'd left it a few years, I probably would have got more out of the education side, because I'd have been like, actually, no, I really want to do well in this area. I really want to be able to, I can use that evidence I'm gathering here for my job or whatever I'm doing. But obviously, I went down a slightly different route.
Yeah.
But I think I'd probably go back and possibly do a master's or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that if you're able to apply it to the job that you do, it's more enjoyable, because you think actually there's a real clear end result of what I'm going to be able to use this for.
I think Jake did that quite well, didn't he? His dissertation was around something in academy football he's interested in. I think you do something that's not work. It's not as hard. No. You're more motivated to do it, aren't you?
Jack's doing that as well.
Jack,
he's doing his on coach behaviours, and he's obviously asking for a little bit of feedback from people around the place. But that'd be interesting. Obviously, I know on ECAS courses they have quite interesting people coming in, or interesting days or weekends away and stuff. What did you have presented to you on your course, or what type of things did you take part in?
Good question. Yours? I think one of the real best things was the diversity of person on the course. So usually if you do a level 2, it's all people at a similar stage in their coaching grow. You do a B license, similar stage. Do an A license, probably similar. But I mean, we had ex-players, so probably 3 or 4 lads who had played Premier League football and come out and were just starting to get into coaching. You had people like myself who would say had done 5 to 10 years of coaching and got to that point to get to there. You had academy managers, a academy manager on there. And Andy Alford was Luton's academy manager. Great, like really good guy, and like he having dinner with him was one of the best. Like just sat having dinner one night was one of the beer or whatever was one of the best times to learn about stuff. Because he was his journeys. He was managed Portsmouth. So he was a academy manager at Portsmouth. Manager went took over the first team with Paul Hardiman, who's our 18's coach now. So that was really, first of all, that was the better thing. Sat down, like talking to people who have their playing experiences or their managing experiences or their coaching journeys experience, but all so different. Ex-players or people who were 60 towards the end of their career. I think myself and Loris was actually on there. We played with. He was. I think we're similar. I think we're the same age. 20, probably the youngest. I think we were 26, 27. So like 30 range of people, like where they're at in their coaching career and playing experience, coaching experience, management roles, all that sort of thing. So that was really good. Speakers, that's a really hard question. I might have to come back to it. Thinking who was the best speaker. We had quite a few. I know actually. No, I can answer that. So a guy called Ben Ryan, who's a rugby coach, and I've since listened to I've not finished it, but I listened to most of his book about his time when he was managing. He took over Fiji rugby team, and led them to rugby sevens, led them to Olympic gold. Really, just a good story. And about his coaching philosophy is more about understanding the person and getting the best of the person. The Fijians had a very different way of doing things than he coached England sevens before. An example I can think of from the book would be they were doing like a sprint test, trying to do their sprint times, and the guy's times were coming out slower than him. And he was I think he played rugby a little bit, but like not an elite athlete, but he was a coach at this point. He's running slower than him. What's going on? Like, I don't understand why this is. They must be better than this. And then he spoke to his assistant, who was a Fijian, and he said, "I'll get them to like chase each other, get them to chase after each other, and then there's a fun game. Then they're going to try and you got to tag the person in front of you." Done that, and the scores off the charts. So just getting us out of his players, they were like, "Why are we in rugby? Why am I running between one whatever checkpoint and another check? It's just a waste of time." That was an example. There's loads of stories like that about how he really understood how these guys ticked and that. So that was probably there was loads of good ones, but the one I can think of was be my best person to listen to about their coaching journey, and so when he went away and listened to his book and that. But then also joint with this, which I'll link in with an experience, was the military guys. Just a different level of pressure and sacrifice, and just amazing, really. Like talking about building team morale when you've just lost a friend in a battle, and you've got to get them up for the next day, and you're away from your family, and you're going to this. I remember they're talking about going on a plane, and then all the lights go out, and it's like all the guys are giving like bravado back home, suddenly all silent because you realise what's actually happening. You're about to land in a war zone, go to war, and when the military guys speak, I'm just there like going, just in awe of them, just thinking that's real life. Do you know what I mean? That's proper stuff. Amazing, yeah. They was good. Then what we linked in with that was the experience we did in the Beacon. So we did like a military experience where basically you get dropped, you get militia ambush you, and you get put down, you're facing the dirt and that, and then you're dropped off. You got to find your way back to a camp, and you've got a map, and you go over the hills, and in the middle of the night, then they disrupt your sleep, so you're up. So you slept for like 2 hours, and then you've got a whole day of tasks to do. Some mentally challenging, some physically challenging, and it was so like it's hot. It's like, I don't know if you watched the SAS program. It's on Sunday nights now, and like people hand in they give up, hand their thing. I thought, I'll keep going, but these guys there for days, and we did this for just probably probably 36 hours. You do an evening, all night, all the next day. So not even that, probably less than that. But you don't sleep. You hardly sleep. But it was just you learn a bit about yourself and how far you can push yourself. And the guys leading it were all like wounded servicemen. Guys couldn't always fight, and it was just so like braceable. Also, matter of fact, as well, like guys who like lost their legs, and they were like, "Yeah, this will that happen because I stood on there and that happened." Then I do this now. And there was actually one guy. This was not on the experience. He spoke before. And is it Invictus Games? Yeah. Servicemen do, yeah. And he did that, and he was and he lost a part of his leg, and then broke some records in Invictus Game. I can't remember what discipline it was, what sport it was, but and he was talking about experiences, and now he's a motivational speaker. And he said, I think I'm quoting properly, but he's like, the best thing that happened to me was when I lost my leg, because it just changed. He said it's the all I've achieved since then. Like I now help so many people. I do motivational. I've won world records in sports. I've met princes and kings and all that. And it's like, he says it's an amazing experience. So he was another one. I can't remember his name, but he was great. Really, really, just great stories. And motivational. So I think, the coachy wise, I think he was the best, Ben, and then the whole military stuff was just puts things into perspective and push your boundaries, and nowhere near the boundary where those guys go. You're in a real war zone, real stuff's going on. But no, brilliant. Very lucky, I think, to have done that.
What did you take away from it? From like personal insights, things that obviously, or you might do well, or things you go, actually I need to get a bit better at?
Yeah, I think I learned. I think I learned what you're capable of, for one, and I think about how morale was built between the group was brilliant, and we really helped each other through. But also about how your boundaries can get, not your boundaries, your values can get tested, and anyone's values get tested in the right environment. It's why I think you've got to be careful putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Like we were saying earlier about your coaching values. If you're a Premier League manager and this is on the line, would you bend and change what you do? And I know there was a bit where, Darren Powell, ex-footballer, big guy, he was captain of Southampton actually when he played, but big strong guy. But we somehow, when we got ambushed, we acquired an extra bag. And I'd always like to think I'm the sort of person to help people and help someone out, and if I can, or colleagues, whatever. Paddy's got a extra bag, and we're going up to a point where you couldn't walk anymore. It wasn't climbing, but it was like you couldn't walk up straight. You've got your big bags on, so we're like pretty much pulling ourselves in the grass, get to the top of this hill, middle of the night, can't see anything. And Paddy had an extra bag, and he was saying, he's like, lads, I need help with the bag. I need to help me with the bag, and we're going, yeah, all right. And we're sort of just everyone's sort of keeping their head down, just like carrying on, and we're all nice guys. But we're like, I couldn't take any more. I had my backpack on me. I'm pulling myself through like mud and grass. I got to get to the top. And I could have really took anything else on. But maybe I could have, because Pauli had two, it wasn't fair. But when we got to the top, our like leader, who was an used to be in the army, used to be been in war zones. And he was like, why didn't any of you help Pauli then? And we're like, I don't know really. I had to get to the top. Do you know what I mean? I had to get there. Because I couldn't do anything else. And that's fair that he was at the back with two bags. I go, no, of course it's not. And like any other time, I go, yeah, of course I'll give you a hand. Of course I will, because we're nice guys. So I learned that was good. It was sort of like learning that you like until you're in a certain environment, it's hard to judge how challenging that actually is. And a bit about my leadership. So I led one of the task I led the next day was actually the last one of the day. So we haven't slept all night, and then we've done 3 tasks, and this was the last one. So the following evening, and I did it was like a medical challenge. So we had to sort of get people out of. So you have to do a bit of negotiating, a hostage negotiating, we had to try and get someone across the river, and that was good. And I guess I learned a bit about, again, stuff that I'm quite good at, and how I'll do it differently if you've got a real challenging conversation. And remember, we had to walk across like a river being, so we're all wet. We all been up for almost 2 days, tired. But what's testing my skills, I can speak to a guy who like had a gun, who was like, oh, no, you're not taking this person. So, and actually, I just remember one thing. So I did look. This is probably actually one of my main learning moments from it was the requirement to change your leadership style, right? And I think Bawley, so Alex Moore, from working with him, and a real nice guy, like thinker, and probably quite quiet, maybe quite calm sort of guy. And he led a task where we had to ambush, paintball him. We had to ambush sort of enemy, and they moved. So basically, we planned it. We knew where they were. We were going to go ambush them. We got to the place. They weren't there. So it's like chaos all of a sudden. We had to think, right, then shots fire from where they are. Bawley was class, leading me and my group. Like, to be honest, I don't really like that sort of film. I wouldn't really choose to go paintballing. I don't really enjoy it. Like that sort of shooting at people, getting shot at. It's not really my thing. But obviously I did it. But he was brilliant. He didn't give me a choice to think. He was like, Nath, move, go there. And it was like, okay. And I'm there. And then he's like, hold it, go. And he's like telling you what to do. And I was actually one of the last ones not shot with him. And Bawley done the final shot to take the guy out. I was right there with him, right at the front. Like, I was like, it's paintball, it's fake. Your heart's going, and like I cut my knee. I didn't realise I cut my knee because like adrenaline was going, like just going, yeah, go. I didn't even know. And after I was like, my knee. I was like, cut my knee. But that was absolutely appropriate for that time. Like there's like new way of going now. Like thinking, what do you think? How do you think we should do this best? What do you think? There's a time to tell. That's what I learned from that. Because if Ball in went, Nath, how do you reckon the best way to get these guys? Do you want to go in that way? Yeah. I mean, you happy to do this, Nath? You happy to go forward? Are you happy? You right to cover me now? No. Nath, move. I was like, fine. So I'm moving him. I'm behind the tree. Then I'm up behind the tire. Then I'm next to him because it was really good. And I don't want to speak for Bally, but yeah, it's probably not his natural style of leadership. He's quite a calm person and let people think and discover stuff himself. He's a really good coach. But in that environment, absolutely, you've got to tell him. Sometimes you got to tell him. I think you can learn that in I think that's a real skill of a manager or a leader is. And you said about like Fergie earlier, I think, is understand that you need to do different things with different people, and stories about like when he used to, like, I think he let Cantona get away a bit more than the other boy, like than Phil Neville, because he knew that was getting the best out of him. He's his maverick and he can do that, and he can't, and that's real hard to get that, to treat everyone fairly, but you're not going to treat them the same. And that was a good thing I learned from that. You learn best from doing it. So it was in action. I saw it in action. That was really good leadership from someone that's not their natural style. So that was a take home. I'll forget things. There's loads, man. It was a good experience, and I wrote loads down after, and probably bits subconsciously that I've taken from it. But that was probably the main one, along with the other bits I said as well.
So it's good to have those stuff written back. You can come back to.
Oh yeah.
And go, actually, I forgot about that. That's a real good insight already. Thing. I know I'm trying to make more notes on my phone as I'm going through. If I'm seeing articles or stuff that I think might be interesting, I'll read them and then I'll copy and paste them into my notes on my phone. Just going to read them again. I know I put in my phones. You talk about Fergie, a situation where he would give Rooney a load of stick, but not Nani. But he would direct the stuff at Rooney that applied to Nani.
Oh, I never read that.
Because basically, Nani, as we all know, loved to dribble and used to try and beat people for absolute fun, but he didn't like being criticism direct in front of a group. So I think there's one game, I can't remember exactly when it was, but Fergie's come in and he's had a pop at Rooney about a couple of things that Rooney did do, and then the last thing he said, he went, "Oh, and by the way, stop trying to dribble and take 17 touches, move the ball quicker." From my understanding, Rooney hadn't really done that in that half.
Right.
Nani had been.
Yeah.
But
smart,
by Nani listening and going, okay, he wants me to move the ball quicker because he's telling Wayne that. So
he's not crushed him.
But he's not crushed him, so he goes out the second half and does the stuff that Fergie was asking him to do through someone else. Smart. So it's a little smart leadership tool. But I'm trying to get better personally of just keeping stuff on my phone and go and reflect on that, I think.
Do you know what? One of the things I was conscious of doing the ECAS course, and it's really hard, but I really enjoyed it. I didn't say it if I said that. One of the best things I've done is I was getting so much information that would be relevant for so many different things that may or may not come my way in my career, my work life, that it was like I don't want to lose it all. I was spoiled. Like usually you might go and hear a speaker or an expert once every bit of time. We go somewhere like for three days at a time and have like Ian Mitchell, who was like, I think he works in the FA now. He's psych. But like A-licensed Wales as well. Yeah, he was in the Coleman's in the Euro team. He was part of that, but he was a coach, A-licensed coach, but also got a master in psychology, and he's going through some great stuff that probably isn't relevant to me in my role right now. But if I was under Ains coach or above, then this is really good stuff. I'm like, I take, how do I get all this in my head? And then you go to the next session, it might be something on mindfulness, which some of something actually that really helped me. If I was county manager, I'm really stressed, I got a really difficult meeting, I might go in, do you know what I mean? I had to use those skills, or the military stuff, or you got a speaker, you got Ben Ryan coming in, I was like, this is like so much good stuff that I was just want to try, and I was like, I don't want to waste it, because like in the last, since finishing that course, like the last 6 months, I've probably seen less of those sort of things and those people than I got in 3 days of like residential. So that's what my concern was.
It's hard to organise.
It's just how you got. If you want to hear, he's in London and he's got to travel that way. You haven't got time. So I think that was something I was conscious of then. It's like, and I think for me, what actually worked well for me was if you note something down. And then if you something is good, like something's so much good and no good. But if you then, I didn't listen. I'm saying this. I didn't practice it all the time, but I did sometimes. and then type it up. So it almost goes through your brain twice. So you got your notes, and then you're like, oh, that was pretty good. And then when you look at it again, maybe a week later, and you type it into something, and it's easier to store then as well. You put it on a PowerPoint or something, and you've got it there. And then it goes through twice. I think that's the better way. But I did. That was supposed to be the strap line. I think was like ink it, don't think it. So make sure you write stuff down. So otherwise you think you forget it. But I didn't do it all the time.
That's part of the reason why I'm doing these.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping to speak to some interesting people.
Yeah.
No way I would be able to write down all the stuff we've
Cool,
spoken about in this.
Yeah.
Got a audio record of it, so I could go back and go, what was Nate saying about the Fijian guy? What was the analogy he was using there? Something so simple.
Simple. Everything's the best things are simple, don't they? Like nothing's well, of course some stuff is, but in our industry, nothing's rocket science. You know what I mean? It's like just simple things and getting the best out of people and that. You know what I mean?
So obviously that was a slight part of your development, and then another thing I know you've been really kind of self-exploring with is your Chinese, learning Chinese, and then obviously going visiting that. So do you just want to talk through kind of how you even began to go down that route? And
No, definitely, yeah. It's been like almost 2 years, I think now. I think it's like March time. So let's start at the beginning. It's a good place to start, I think. So we're again really lucky to go all these places with the boys. Me and Brad and a few of the guys here took under 9s to Juventus to play games against Juventus. It was in Italy, and I think I don't know if I always had it on. It's easy to write things down. That's one of the things I noticed as well. A lot of people have good plans. It's harder to do them. It's harder to just actually I'm going to do this and stick to it. A lot of ideas are easy, aren't they? But it's sticking to it is hard. And so anyway, so we were. I think I was on my radar. I thought I'd like to learn a language one day, and we were in Italy. I remember the point we was having dinner, and Christian was with us. So Christian Markovic speaks like 5 languages, whatever. And the hotel we were in, the guys only spoke Italian, rightly so, because in Italy, it's like if you're going to a hotel in Bristol, you're Italian, they're going to speak English. So good, fair play as it should be. And so I wanted some butter to go on my bread roll, and I was just helpless. I was like asking the waiter. I was like, there was no butter. I was like, I need some butter, and then I understand. And I was like, Chris, can you just help me out? Yeah. And he was like, yeah, of course. Blah blah blah. I spoke Italian. The guy wants butter. I was like, that's cool. That's really cool. I like that. Just that ability to be able to do that. I think that's pretty cool thing to do. And it also on that same trip, they had the goalkeeping coach. Had spoke really good English. He kept apologising for his English, but it was quality. His English was quality. He spent all the time with hosted us, took us round places, and the boys loved him. Really good guy. Pretty younger than me as well, I think at the time. So fairly young guy, in my early 20s. Brilliant. And I thought, wicked man. So I was like, nah, this is it. Like I've seen it in action. I'm going to come back. I'm going to learn a language because it's something I want to do, and I think it's a good skill to acquire. So then I guess that was timings of it, but maybe that was before the new year, maybe I can't remember. But I had a few months of thinking like, I don't know, or I had a time period. What is it I want to do? And I thought maybe Italian, because we do a lot of stuff in Italy, don't we? Like we play at Milan, they come over here, we go over there, we got a good relationship, the Juventus thing. Maybe Italian. Did French and German at school, but didn't apply myself. Like probably when I started doing Mandarin, I probably learnt more in a month than I did 2 years at school, because I just sat at the front of the class messing around with my mate. French was like one that I didn't really. Yeah, the funny thing is, I actually would like to learn French now. It's annoying, but maybe I'm not. When I get my Mandarin better, maybe at some point next year or a couple of years, I'll take French on. Maybe that's annoying because I did it. I could have done it for 2 years, but there you go. If you knew then what you knew now, blah blah blah. So I was saying what do I want to do, and then it must have been around the same sort of time. So I was on ECAS, started ECAS, and I was there was a lot of people in the course with great experience. Like everyone had an A license. Some guys had played like Premier League. I remember chatting to Kent's guy who down Kent, who played for something as well, but he was coach at Norwich now, and we were just chatting about football and stuff, and we was like, who's the best player you played against? And he was like, probably Ronaldo at Old Trafford. And I was like, yeah,
not a bad one.
Yeah, that's pretty good, like pretty good. I was like, that's what I mean. That's amazing. So he does some amazing. So there's people on this course and all these aspiring coaches, and they are all like doing this qualification, trying to be better or whatever. And I think that's people who play for England and people who've played for the played against people like that, people who manage in the football league and stuff. So I was like, well, how do I differentiate myself from these people who are all doing loads of stuff that's better than me, but I'm sure I can do some stuff better than them. How do you do that? So that was kind of thing. Well, I don't know if any of the guys, I never mentioned it to me because I knew I was doing it. I don't know if anyone was speaking another language, for one. And then I don't know what comes first, whether I thought about it first or our owners, but we've got Chinese owners. Mr. Gary bought the club, so I thought that's a link for work as well. Like we could the Chinese going to be coming over. We're going to be doing some of them. We go on tours there. The first time we go on tour there, so that stuff was happening. And I thought, I don't know anyone who can speak Chinese. Anyone I didn't, I didn't know anyone then on the course. And also, do you know what else was happening at the time as well? It was like the players were going out there, weren't they, for like mega money. Like Pella, I think, left and went there for like 300 grand a week. Oscar Ramirez, all those guys. It was kind of in the news as well. It was like football in China was a booming thing. So it was really, I guess the reason why I chose to start it was professional reasons, really. Like, I wanted to learn language for me, maybe for more personal reasons. But the reason I went for that was because I thought, all these people on this course, no one can do that. It's really hard, I found out quite quickly. So it's going to be a hard thing to acquire. So not a lot of people will do it because it's hard. The football, it was a new growth area of football. It's like years ago, people were like, oh, you learn Spanish because Spanish coaches are the way. I mean, it's a new thing in football. It's growing, and I kind of had access to with our owners. It was kind of a thing that was linked to work. So that's my driver. And then I think as time went on, it became clearer that there was more bits as well. Like I was at Bath University, so I work here. Probably outside, I don't know. There's probably, of course, I believe in the country, but a huge Chinese population, students, that sort of thing. So I get access. So I guess that was my original drivers and why I wanted to, why I started on that path. And then since then, so I said almost 2 years, I think I've loved it. I've loved the process of learning a language because if I do a lot of audible lessons, so in my car, and I'm nearly done level 3. That was 3, so it's like 30 half-hour lessons each level, but you got to repeat them until you come to move on. So I'll probably do each one 3 or 4 times on average. So probably 1 or 2, maybe 2 a week if I'm a good week. I'm driving nearly every time I drive my car, I usually do a lesson. But it's never easy because I'm on level 3, lesson 13, I think. So when I do level 14 tomorrow, lesson 14, that's just as hard as when I did level 1, lesson 2. Because the way it's pretty good, but I think it's a good program.
What is the program?
Pimsleur. Actually, it's been criticised by some other language learners because it's very robotic and repetitive. It's been good for me, but I'll come on to why it's not good in a second. But it just stresses you a bit further. So you might learn 2 or 3 new words or phrase every single one. So it's just as hard. So it's really challenging. I'm not going to be fluent, completely fluent, unless I lived there for 10 years in Chinese Mandarin. So it's never ending. So do you know what I mean? It's constant sort of challenge, but also it's rewarding. Like there's so many bits so many little things I got to which I couldn't. But if you said to me 3 months before, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So, for instance, there was a group of maybe a year into it, maybe before I went to China it was. So maybe a year into it, a group of Chinese coaches came to Staplewood from the Super League, and I said, very not as good as I am now, but basically would have said to them, welcome or good morning, I'm Nathan, I'm here to help you today. And then at lunchtime I'd say, lunch is now ready, in broken Mandarin. But if you said to me 6 months before, I was just learning the very first words of it, then I never would have done it in a million years. I mean, it was impossible. It's impossible, really. That was one moment, and then another pretty good one is I have had a tutor before I did a test, and it was the symbols, so the Chinese characters, Hanzi, and numbers aren't important, but say there was 200 characters, it was 50 of them I recognised, and then 100 of them I had to see what the pinyin was. So pinyin is Chinese characters with European characters, so it's makes the noise. So there was 100 of them that there's more than that, it's one I didn't know. So maybe 80 that I knew, You know what they are? 100 that I knew the pinyin, not the character knew the pinyin, knew what the word meant, and then probably like 10 say that I didn't know the pinyin, didn't know the character. And like, I was like, that's like, when I say people this, I don't say that it's not, it's amazing. It's not saying I'm amazing. It's saying that the fact that I'm not makes it amazing, because I don't think you've got to be intelligent to do that. You just got to stick with it. Just got to practice. So, but that would have been complete. Like if I did it with you now, if I put 200 characters on the table, you get none.
Yeah, it'd be like,
it's impossible. It's impossible. So that was something that you'd get none. Like I would, a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have got 0, and all of a sudden I can now recognise 100 or recognise whatever, recognise that much, understand that much, because I just kept going with it. That was one moment, and then obviously going out to China, like I was there for 8 days and like survived. Spoke to people, they'd understand me. And it was like, again, if you had rewind a year ago, we'll do it. And the most recent thing I've done a proficiency test, which is level 1, which is really, really basic. Probably going to try and do a level 2, probably in the summer. The way it's HSK, so the way it works is 6 is like fluent, and then level 1, obviously basic. But then level 3, in the test, you lose the pinyin, so it's all characters, so it's a big jump. So level 1 and 2, I think, are quite basic. So I think I'll be right with 2. 3's a level up again, but again, it would to take this exam. Like if you said, let's go back 2 and a bit years ago, if you'd said to me, you're going to, I'd be like, what am I doing Chinese for? Like it's not even on my. Do you know what I mean? Then now you could get there. Do you know what I mean? So it started off with reasons why I thought I wanted a language. It might open some doors professionally and that sort of thing. And then probably for at least the last year, it's just been enjoying it. I've just started a class on an evening school class here, which is another challenge. And that, I guess, leading on was why you can criticise Pimsleur, because it's there. So you could listen to me do a lesson in my car, and it sounds, you'd say, oh my God, Nathan's amazing at Chinese, because they'll ask something and I'll repeat it. No, they'll say something in Chinese. No, they'll say something in English, I'll say it in Chinese, and it'll be exactly as it should sound. You're like, oh, this is... But then, what I learned from in China was like, I'd say something, and then someone saying it back to me, I'll be completely lost, because my listening to, like, you know, like, we're not talking the Queen's English now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You use paraphrase and different words and different things. So my listening skills were like pretty much like 0 from just doing Pimsleur, but my speaking was, I could say the exact things that they say pretty well. Yeah. So what I've started doing now for the last 6 months, and what coincides with ECAS finishing, is I've done different things. So just that way of learning that I've done. So really lucky for a Chinese site. I have a mentor, student here who I try and meet twice a week. This week met twice, just speak. Starting the night, the schools in the evening. They do peer-to-peer session here, which is led by some students who just, with other people who are learning, get around and talk. I've started listening to, this is above my level, but I've started listening to a news pod, which is like, I think it's for learning. It's just Chinese news. And then I try and pick some up, and when I speak to my mentor, I'll go through stuff with her saying, oh, is this right? Is that right? And that's the next. And then also I've started watching a TV show, terrible TV show. It's like basically like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but it's called Ultra Rich Asian Girls. But it's perfect for me because it's really basic language. It's not like talking about difficult subjects. Just going
Stephen Hawkins in China trying to explain.
They're just going shopping and they're just going like, to the beach or whatever. But it's perfect for me, and it's got subtitles as well. So I've kind of like self-taught all these little bits, but so that on its own wasn't enough. But I think I've learned about learning. So I think next time, if I want to do another language, which I think I will, I'll be much more equipped to know how to get to where I want to get to quickly. And a good one of them, listen to a podcast with a guy, call it a polyglot, someone who can speak multiple languages. I think it's more than 3. I think you get 3 or more, you class as a polyglot, I think it is. So, or maybe it's bilingual, trilingual, maybe it's 4, I don't know. Those languages. And he said something really simple, and it was like, you got to think about your goal. So my goal would be to communicate with someone in Mandarin, pretty much, have a conversation. If people are over, host them, or go over there and do stuff, whatever. And he's like, if your goal is to communicate with people in Mandarin, you've got to start communicating with Mandarin. Yeah. You're never going to do it just from listening or doing Duolingo on your phone. Yeah. You're never going to get there because you're not doing it. You're not doing it. You're not like, I mean, you want to be a footballer, you've got to play football. You can't just practice, like you can't, like the F2 freestylers can do stuff with a ball, but they're not in the Premier League. but they're really good at doing that, aren't they?
Yeah.
But if you want to get good, you've got to go and do it, haven't you? So that's a really good bit of advice, and that's what I think I've tried to. But I think I wouldn't change anything I've done, because all the basic stuff I've learned, because Chinese is so hard, so far removed from like European languages, I think, which all come from Latin, I think. So just so different, structured, sounds, tones. I think it was important to have that year or so of just like doing the basics, repeating, painful in your car all the time. It's pretty boring, I guess, but you're in a car, so it's fine. I don't really often do lessons away from my car. But I think that was important to do that bit, because it's such a hard language. Maybe French, I could go get those next bits a bit quicker, because like something like when you go when we're Rotterdam, Dutch, a lot of the words sound quite similar, or sound magnifique or gymnasium. This stuff is linked, whereas in Mandarin it's like I can't think of anything that's even a bit similar. No, Baba, Dad, Mama, that's probably it. So I've really enjoyed it, and it's rewarding, and I think it's good for your brain.
So you've gone through like a process there in terms of learning. I guess with so little context of it before, or understanding it before, it's kind of similar to the work that we do with some of the kids.
100%.
Where you're going, you have no idea about this concept.
100%.
Do you think that's helped you with your coaching?
That way round. I think the coaches helped me with the learning the language. Like it's like talking about stuff. I shouldn't use the word impossible. It's like say talking about boys in the academy. Last I saw for him, he's under 9. I think he do 1,000 keep ups. When he was under 7, it was absolutely impossible for him to do like 1,000 keep ups with his skill set. Impossible. Just like I said about the thing now. If you've done the Chinese characters, but what one impossible. Well, there's loads of boys in the academy. If you use example, what I use him is to do 20 under 7s. Most under 7s it is. You go to school. It's impossible. A year or 2 to do 20 keep ups, but it wasn't for him, because then he got to need 25, and then when he's under 8, maybe at the start of the season, maybe he might have already been there, but it would be impossible. Certainly my 8s of this season, it's impossible for him to do 100 keep ups. But by the end, I know probably more than half the group will, because they want to practice it and want to do it. And you can use keep ups is a good one. It's not the most important thing to be a footballer, of course, but it's really easy to measure. Like your hook turn improving, and the awareness and your burst away speed, of course, that improves the same way. But keep ups are easy to measure, because today I can do 21, tomorrow I'll do 22, I'll do 25, then 26. So I think that knowing being what skill acquisition stuff has 100% helped me to the language stuff, and recognising, okay, I need to get better at this now, to get better at that now.
And you're going to fail a certain number of times before you get it right.
And that's a huge thing for me, is I think what I'm quite good at, whether it's naturally or whatever, is just not being afraid to just... No, it's not naturally, but I'm so comfortable making mistakes. Like when I went to Paris with my missus for the weekend a few months ago, last year, and she know I don't know hardly any French, like very, very, very little French, maybe 3 or 4 phrases. And she knows a bit more than me, because she used to change jobs. She used to work with a lot of French people. She had a bit more from me and did French at school. Probably tried a bit harder than me when she was doing it, but she wouldn't do it over there. Whereas I was on the tube, just like trying to do it to people in restaurants, asking for I think it's puis avoir l'addition, s'il vous plaît. And you do that, they're going to get it anyway, hand signal. But I'd say it, and then they'd sort of say, oh, that's kind of right. You look a bit of a fool, but who cares? Do you know what I mean? And then most of the time they go, oh, brilliant, thanks for trying. And that's what I learned in China as well. So that, I would say more so, the boys, I've used what I've seen the boys do and my coaching to help that way around. The other way around, I don't know if it's probably too early to say if it's affecting my coaching. I think what it has taught me though is that, like, within reason, of course some things are impossible, but within reason you can get as good as something if you want to give time and effort, like passion and perseverance. If you do that, you can like, it's like our boys now, it's like they won't all play for England, they won't all be Premier League footballers, but I'm pretty certain if they all apply themselves, it could be really, really good, because they're really talented boys anyway. If they want to, like, for instance, one of those boys in particular, their right foot is as good as their left foot now. But I know why, because where they live, I used to visit a development centre, and when they're older, too old to go to the development centres, when they would train at the academy, they'd still be there at a local centre every single week. And I mean every single week, wind, rain or shine, practising that technique, or dribbling and crossing it. And now, that's where their right foot's at. And you could say, oh, when they're at 9, whip a corner off both feet. Impossible. I can't do it now. Yeah. 28, no chance. But that boy can now.
I think the bravery thing you said about like being willing to fail, I know who you're on about, and I know that Gaz used to make him take corners on both sides in swingers, and the number of times on his right foot he would hit the first man initially because obviously he hadn't developed that skill yet.
Yeah.
But for him to keep going, you know what, I'm going to keep developing it.
Brilliant.
I'm going to hit the front man another 200 times.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe on the 201st is the start of when I get it right more than I get it wrong.
I think, but the important thing there is what if he was at a different club and he tried it one day on his own, really brave at 10-year-old, and the coach went, no, left, take corners with that foot because we're going to try to win this game. Boom, that's gone then.
Yeah.
That opportunity to go and become that, it's gone because it just be smashed to pieces. It won't want to try it again. It won't want to practice it anymore. We're doing it again. So like it all complements each other, doesn't it? So you all that environment, and that's why I think now is like with our boys who trying to move, like they'll fail it a lot, but eventually they might have an unbelievable hook to it and it gets them out of trouble in the Premier League. But that's because someone's let them do it. So that's why I think, and I think there's lots of things. It's like, do you know what? I'll tell you what. Another thing which I've heard recently from this is actually a totally different context again, but couldn't be more true to the language learning thing and football to a certain extent. But I imagine loads of things in life. Is me and Brad, as usual, after Christmas you go in the gym, don't you? January comes around, we've all had a bit too much to eat. And we spoke to one of the lads in there who works there who's absolutely ripped. And he was talking about like different programs and can you do I don't know, heavy weights or light weights and all that sort of thing. And he said, do you know what? It doesn't really matter. The biggest thing is consistency. And I was like, that's like so true. It's like I was saying, like if I'm like, I've never been ripped in my life. And I probably never will be because I enjoy eating food too much and whatever. But if right now, me and you was like, right, for the next year, we're going to eat clean all the time and go to the gym 6 times a week. We're going to go before, go after. You'd be ripped. You'd be shredded in a year's time. You would be. Of course you would be. And I was saying to him, I'm going gym quite a lot now at the moment. But always something happens. Where I just a holiday or like you don't know, or you've got a busy period of work and you don't go for 2 weeks, and then you do once a week, and then you know what I mean, it covers less and less. But whereas he obviously he's everything's going, and I think that's why I've been quite good with the language thing. I pretty much actually I had a little lull when I went to China and I come back. That was a real big motivator for me. So I probably had about a month lull when I come back because I didn't have a motivator, and I put on that test that was got me going. But I've been pretty consistent with it. But it's like with when you hear like quite topical Kobe Bryant at the moment speaking about obviously his motivational stuff and that, and he was saying like I was listening to one the other day and just 10-minute one on YouTube, and I think the guy was saying, so when do you rest, when do you take a break? And he was like, well, when I was 18 I made this, or whatever age, teenage years, I made a decision to be the best basketball player I could possibly be, like Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, or whatever. I'm going to be the best I could be. So from that point, I committed everything that I was going to do was to that. So I planned to rest when I retired. And that's like a great, like that's just talking about the army guys are another level to what we do. This guy obviously is not a coach, not a language. He's took basketball, he's a performer. So he's another level. But that's his mindset. And I'm not saying that's a healthy mindset. It's a bit like for us and for coach or for the kids, certainly not the kids, maybe, but Floyd Mayweather would have done that. Yeah. And I wouldn't ever say you should do it to a kid. You shouldn't force a kid. They got to want to do it. But Floyd Mayweather's great, and Kobe Bryant's arguably one of the best of all time, and that was his mindset. But I think what's maybe the key there is he developed on himself. Probably no one said you got to do this. You can't drag someone out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning to do sports, but that was consistent. Whereas there are probably some basketball players, not a basketball expert, but I do enjoy watching it now and then, who might train like that for a pre-season or to get back, or because they got the playoffs coming up. But I imagine Kobe Bryant was all the time. All the time. You see like boxers, and they like, remember Anthony Joshua would come, like, and then he'd go back, he'd train after. If he only got 2 rounds, he'd go and, you know what I mean? And now he's gone on to be that. So I think there'll be exceptions, but I think nearly everyone sick.
Unique
Ronaldo. How old's Ronaldo now? Still doing it?
37, but I know that I listened to an interview with Ever recently.
Yeah.
And Ronaldo invited him round his house.
Yeah.
And he went round, and they had, it was for lunch, went round, and they had like plain chicken, a tiny bit of rice and broccoli.
Yeah.
And then he was like, right, we're going to the gym now.
Yeah.
And everyone went along for it at that time. And then Ronaldo invited him round next week. He goes, we're not doing the same again, are we? He was like, yeah. He was like, well, no then.
Yeah.
I want to have like a normal meal. Like, mate, I've just finished training. I don't need to be training again. He was like, no. And he was like, do you do that every day? He was like, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, every day Ronaldo would go in and practice and have, like, they've had training in the morning and he'd have that lunch and that drive to do it. And everyone was like, a professional footballer, a great professional footballer. But was like, no.
And never touch a drop of alcohol at Ronaldo. Yeah. Those understand, like, so it's like, so that's a good story. I think, so that was just something from, I think, that's what I try and think as well. I think you don't know when you're going to learn something from someone. That's why I try and be as open as possible. Like, this was a guy in the gym who's, like he's getting ripped, but that is actually for, and like, if you want to go and learn, like you could be pretty good at French in a year's time if you're consistent with it. Like, you could do it for a week, and then if you want to stick with it, that's the hard thing. You could do, like I said, there are obviously, like, we're not going to be Premier League footballers if we really try for next year. We could try our best. We get better. We get better at football. Yeah. So I'm starting golf. I'm starting playing golf. Yeah, nice. And I'll get better. But am I going to be as good as mates who've been playing for 15 years? Probably not. But I have a rain in the summer. If I stick at it, in my head now, I think I will. If I like, I'm going to try and get some lessons. And once a week have a lesson. Once or twice a week, I could walk to a driving range from my house. So once or twice a week, go to a range for 15, 20 minutes. I think it's achievable. It's not too much out of your day. And then I'm not ready yet, but as I get a bit better, try and go on a course at least once a month, maybe twice a month, maybe. But if I believe, I might be wrong. I'll find out. But if I do that by the 6 months time, whatever, 5 months time, I'll be able to get round. I'll be okay. I'm not be good. I'm not be a really good golfer, but I think I'll be okay. But that's a good plan, isn't it? Yeah.
Go and be consistent and stick with it. Do you know what I mean? That's the hard thing. So I think that lesson that could be taken. Said that. I've used another example: golf or learning a language or our boys' football skills, whatever. But if the consistency, I think that's the biggest problem. Biggest like stop you from getting things, achieving things.
And in terms of, got to rewind a little bit, China itself and the football that was there. Obviously, I know you did a little bit of with that. How did you find that in terms of cultural differences, all that type of stuff?
No, I think there was cultural differences. I did a session. I was lucky. I went to a team called Greentown in Hangzhou. I took a session with the under-9s, which was good. Like, so the guys before the day before, and I was like, "Oh, you want to take a session?" Like, yeah, like that's what I mean about. I don't know how it's going to go, but I'll give it a go. And then like, all right, you got 25 on the 9s. Okay, we usually work like 10 to 1, but that's all right. I have 21 on the 9s, but you got 2 assistants, but they both can't speak English. So I was like, all right, cool. Let's go give it a go. So I was really lucky. So I had good access to a club, and apparently they're the best producer of players in China. Like, get a lot of players in the youth team. They just got relegated from the Premier League, but academy apparently is really, really good. But they were in the CSL? Super League, isn't it? Chinese Super League. They were in the Chinese Super League and they got relegated recently, a couple of years ago. But apparently they're really good. So I had really good access to them because of people that I knew. And it was just, I think, China on the whole, I think was just full of contradictions. Like, I think the more I understood, the less I understood. And I think part of the reason for that is it's like 1.4 billion people. And there's, I don't know the stat now. I think it's something like, I might be miles off. I think it's like 50 cities with more than 1 million people in or something like that. I think it's like, I know like Shanghai had 25 million people in. Hangzhou, which most people have never heard of, had 12 million people in, which is more than London, I think. And Beijing had 20. So it's like huge. It's like Europe. Like, I don't know if he was in Europe, but it's like it's comparative. So like in Shanghai, I met a guy who used to work for Man City who now works out there. And he was saying like, oh yeah, the people don't take it seriously enough. Like over here, like Chinese think education is more important. Football's like kind of like that. Oh yeah, okay, cool. And I went to Hangzhou, and there's like under-9s living at the school, living at the football school. They go on there to play football. They're living there, training more than ours. Training 6 times a week.
Yeah,
Training 6 times a week.
So I was like, I thought in China they didn't take football seriously, and those people here. So I was like, I don't understand it. But there was clear cultural differences in that I saw in the football side of things. So I actually pitched my session too low because I was told by my friend in Shanghai that the level was much lower than English academies. I did like real basics, like probably like what I'd do at under sevens development center sort of sessions, what I planned, and I quite quickly, while I was battling, trying to speak a language I couldn't speak very well, quickly adapted it. It was just too easy with boys. I was doing like keep up challenges, aerial control to move around things like that, hit a certain target and move into a rival game. And it was too easy for them. I was like 10. They were like, yeah, bang, done. Next one. I was like, wow, really, really good. So they were really, really good at that, isolated skills. But then I did a game after. So I split into two groups. I took one game, my sister took another game. And they were miles off, in my opinion, and they're pretty of our boys playing a game, and I guess like being creative and playing out from the back and all that sort of stuff. I think our boys are miles ahead. So many factors why it could be. Could be like our boys are bred sort of football, like playing the playground at school, whatever. I don't know, playing matches more and more competitive. I don't know. There's loads of factors, but what I saw from sessions was a way of teaching, of being very disciplined and very follow the coach, and you work really, really hard, and that's why you could do the keep ups were as good as our boys, because it isolated skill, doing 100 keep ups, and I've seen under 14s and older boys doing drills like that. Whereas what I understand from speaking with people who know a bit more than me about who live in China, Chinese guys or coaches, is that a little bit more reluctant as a culture to allow that creativity and freedom, and you don't challenge the this is changing. I've been told it's changing, but you don't challenge the authority figure, the person in charge. So that leaves little room for going off the grain, being a Gaza or whatever, or Ronaldinho. So that was I was there for a week. I took one session. I spent 2 days at a football club. So whether that's valid or not, I don't know. But my opinion, I think I could see that the culture of Creed wants to work hard, follow the rules, do what the coach said. Everyone's aligned. But then perhaps in a footballing sense, that you might lose. Like football. I think it's like you could be creative, and especially when attacking. People who create goals and score goals, you've got to do something off the cuff. You've got to be a bit smart. You've got to do something that's not planned. Let's talk about our coaching journeys. I'm far from an expert in 11v11 stuff, but I know that if I was working with a team, I think you can work really, really hard on setting up defensively to make it hard for the team. But I think there's only so much you can do when you're breaking teams down. How much you can plan. Like I think it was Henry who was saying he was at Barcelona, and Pep was like, I think his front three probably like maybe it's Ibrahimovic, Henry, and Messi. Maybe didn't really do anything with them. Just said, this is your start positions. This is where I want you starting to help us launch the attack. But once it gets to here, I mean, in your luxury, you got Henry, Messi, and Ibrahimovic. You can let them do that, whoever it was at the time. But my point was, I think to be attacking, creative, you need that little bit of spark. You need to give players ownership and chaos.
You look at some of the best ones, people like Maradona and stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone's seen the video of him doing the warm up with his
not doing anything else.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I had a conversation with someone about this the other day. It's like with Che actually on this. He was saying, do you force him to do the same as everyone else?
Yeah.
Which then might kill some of his like creativity, or do you just let him do it once on the principle that he could nutmeg two and whip it top bins twice in a game? Yeah. It's a really hard thing to know that creativity to the discipline. I guess the best way is to have a bit of blend of both. You want your back players and whatnot to have that real discipline, and then you can almost let your Henrys, your Messis and that to go and score some goals.
You reminded me of something then. So actually, again, I forgot this ECAS experience. I went to Lille, to France and Belgium. But you reminded me because actually I did a presentation on Mavericks, and I used that video, the Maradona one, doing a brilliant, amazing video, doing the keep ups and just like whatever, just amazing. I think it was before a big game as well, I think, but anyway, ridiculous. But we went to Lille, and their academy manager was there who brought Hazard through. And it said similar, like just didn't want to do what everyone else did, S&C, like didn't want to work hard in that and didn't want to track back in games. But I think they called him a special talent, and they were like, we allowed him to do that, and we said, okay, do that, then you got to do this, and they bargained with him, and he did, and he said to his teammates, you happy that Eden Hazard does this because he's different to everyone else? And they were like, yeah, cool. But I think what you might lose if you're doing that team is, do you lose respect, and everyone else lose their motivation? But if you get the best out of Hazard, you're going to win the game, or Maradona. And maybe this is, I'm going to be talking about Chinese football culture first, but maybe that's where English culture goes too far. Maybe, like, I know I spoke when I come back here, like, we're very disciplined. We shake hands, we tuck shirts in. Might be the right thing to do. But would Hazard, like, I don't know, like, this was an example. I was at a bat. I was like, would Hazard have been able to get away with that in our enemies? I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have. I think if you said, I'm going to do S&C separate with everyone else, I'm not going to track back, but the next season I will. I don't think you would. I think you're going, no, you're going to do what was said. And that might be the right thing to do, but you might not get Hazard. But you might get Henderson. Yeah. Don't know. I don't know what I mean. I don't know. Yeah. So that culture thing is how you deal with Maverick. So yeah. So back to the original. I think maybe that's what China's lacking. Maybe to develop, like, they're going for it, like the football, but what they've done at the moment is invested heavily, which may be the right way to go to get interest in the top end. But that's not coming down. Their national team's poor. Like, they have results again. Like, I was joking when I was out there. Saying to people, was like, you've got 1.4 billion people, you need 11 good uns. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? On the pitch.
It's not that high,
like,
ratio.
Do you know what I mean? But I think it's so the structure lower down is got a lot of work to do. But they're going for it, and to be fair, like, I went to two cities, but they were both, certainly Shanghai was amazing. So what I've seen from my very short time out there is if China want to do stuff, they can do it really well. Like the Olympics. I think that, again, it's not for me to get into, not for now, but that's some questionable methods about what they did with to get gold medals and programs they put for children, but they got gold medals. They got gold medals. So how do you go about it as a country? I'm not sure, but like, you see that industry's booming there, and I believe, I'm not an economist, whatever it is, but they're going to be the superpower in soon. Another good reason to learn Mandarin, because I think it's the first time in recent history. Recent being last 100 years, where the world superpower is going to be non-Western, non-English speaking. So it's kind of England, and then it's kind of America, and now it's going to be totally different culture leading the world. Apparently, if that's right. So could be a good use to have it then as well. But no, I thought they did lots well. So yeah, good. Very. Do you know what? It made me. I never went. I don't think it's never went travelling when I was like younger. People go travelling. I never did. I never will now. I don't think. And I don't think it'd appeal. I don't know if I could do it, like living like that for months on end and backpacks and stuff. But when it opened my eyes, I was like, we all get caught up in work and this and that. And I met away on my own pretty much. Like I met people, like friends, kind of people I met before out there, and then Huang took me around in Hangzhou, which was really helpful. So I wasn't really on my own, but I was, because I was on my travel from Shanghai to Hangzhou. I'll be in my hotel on my own. I'd go out for sometimes the food was questionable, so I found like a little KFC style place. So that was my go-to. I'd go down my own, just like, so I was on my own for a little bit of time, and I come out. I was like, wow, I just seen that, like, a completely different culture. Yeah, I've seen nothing in the world. Like, you go, like, I've seen a bit of America or whatever, you go Spain, but it's pretty much like little England or whatever, and I was like, that was amazing to go and just see like so many things. Like, I could be here all day saying about different cultural things that I saw, which was for better or for worse, but it was just different, and it was just so good. And I think, wow, look, so many places I've not been, I'd like to see it. And I think you get so caught up in your little world. It's like China uses WeChat. No one knows what WeChat is, but it's just much more users of WeChat than WhatsApp. Same thing, but much more people use it. And like, they have Alibaba instead of eBay or Amazon, and again, I think much more people. But it's huge. Like, WeChat is much bigger than WhatsApp. And like, everyone in here, like, WhatsApp's the biggest thing in the world, right? To talk to people, everyone uses it WhatsApp. So it's like, you just when seeing outside your bubble was really good. And there was so many different things.
So I guess the last question for me, and something I'm asking everyone. Yeah. You can either do both or do one. Is who's the best player or coach you've either worked with or played with or against, and why?
Oh, okay.
So you can double up if you want. Che on the one I've just done gave coaches names and players.
All right, let's try and list through then. So, I mean, I got a few answers for each of them. In truth, is that all right? Is that allowed?
Yeah.
So I think name-wise, I played Rashy Barnes at non-league, like in under 18, sorry, and obviously he's gone on to play in the Premier League and unbelievably well. Like, yeah, so like great to see him do so well. So played with him. So he'd be like, if you said who's the best player you played with, well, on paper it'd be him because he's now scoring goals in the Premier League. But I wouldn't really count that because I played with him for a handful of games, and it's a mad thing. Probably at that time, from when I played with him, he was really good, but he wasn't like, oh, it's amazing, this player, so good. So he's the biggest person on paper, I think, or best player on paper. But I think I've got to go with two to my best friends actually, and that would be Tyler. So Tyler Sibic, who I coach with now, and Metz, a guy called Jordan Metters. We just both played non-league. Different players in the way they play. Ty's goal scorer. Metz is technically really good and great real good passer, really good vision. But when they both got in common, which I'm sure they won't mind me saying, is I don't believe they both fulfil their potential, which I think is I don't think they maximise what they got. I think they both had, I don't know if you call it, another debate for another day. Is it natural talent? Are you born with it? You acquired it? That's not for now. But they both had ability to do things which lots of people can't do. And I don't think either of them, when I played with them both for, probably Metz both for a long time, both of them, Metz almost 10 years, Ty for years now and then, played against him a lot, played with him 2 years properly, went to claim clubs together and played together 3 or 4 different clubs actually, so probably 3 or 4 full seasons with Ty, played against him lots, longer with Metz, but both just chilled guys, nice guys. And I think, I don't know if Ty made the story about Ty's Yeovil trial when he was like, I don't know if he's shared it with you or said anyone, not really, but we was training one night and he tried to really well. He scored like 50 goals in the Western League, went up, scored like 40 goals in the Southern League, and got a bit of interest from clubs in like bigger Bath City, bigger clubs in the area, and even to the point where someone got in contact about going and training with Yeovil. It's like, I don't know, a day and they had like a exit trial for 23, something like that. And he was, we're both at Bath DC. I was like, mate, you going? He's like, nah, I ain't going. And I was like, mate, you got to go. He's like, nah, I ain't going to go. I was like, it was just a load of busy young lads there. I'm like, what are you going to get? What are you going to lose from it? And like, for my mentality, I just couldn't understand. Like, I was nowhere near as good at tight football. And I was like, they were like, why, just go. And he also was like, oh, plus I'm meeting my girlfriend and my nan for breakfast tomorrow. I'm like, mate, meet them on Sunday. Go to this tomorrow. You never know. So talking about Ash Barnes at the start, who Poland under 18s, Poland first team. Holloway took him to Plymouth. Done well at Plymouth. Went on loan some places. I think he went Brighton maybe or somewhere between. Done really well. Went Premier League. Burnley. Never know. I'm like, not me saying I think Ty should be playing in the Premier League, but you just don't know. Like, you don't know. Like, he goes Yeovil and does well, but you don't know. So I think. But listen, I said there, scored loads of 50 goals in the level that I played pretty much most of my non-league playing time. He scored, took the mitt really, scored that amount of goals, and then done it the same Southern League and played a bit higher himself. He played Southern Prem, bit of Conference South. But same with Metz. Metz was played Metz for a long time, and I had very limited technical ability. I think I was okay at. I could read the game all right, but if Metz played a set him, I was give the ball to him. He just come get off my toes, perfect. Like that was what a lot of people want to smash it non-league, and I didn't really have a good long range pass either. But one thing I could do was pass 2 yards to my mate, and he'd come and get it, and people were reluctant to do that, and I was just give him the ball, and just let him play. And another one who, I'm always reluctant to say like people can go on and play much higher because you find your level out quick. So I'm not saying Metz could go and play Champions League because you find out quick. He might have went to Conference South and actually he had a really good step over, or he still plays a really good step over. But actually, he might not have worked at the Conference South. He might have got there, and the defenders go, "No, I'm too quick, too sharp for that. You're not getting past me." So that might have been his. But I never really seen it when he was playing. He never really tried the level we played, and I see him play league above, and he tries it, but he still was one of the best players on the pitch, or best player on the pitch, without really applying himself. So I guess those two were two of my best friends, two of the best ability that I've, for different reasons. But I'm sure they won't both be saying both. I think didn't maximise what I think actually I played a lower level than both of them, but I probably more maximised what I had to get to that rubbish level that they cruised at, and I could have went on more because I probably tried to get fit or whatever. So players, that'd be it. What was the other ones?
Coaches, if you've got any.
Coach. I played against.
What, you can play
coach.
Against or coach as well?
All right, so I got one to play against, definitely, which is another good one. And so this was, and so you don't know if you ever played in it, but at least for a long, I don't know what it was. It was a team here. It was kind of like Leeds University team, like University Smithy University team, kind of Bath City reserves, kind of a bit of both. I was neither. I wasn't a Bath City or a player team out. I just sort of was fit, and at the time was playing football, playing down there and playing some games. Playing against Newport, but with a really, really strong team here once. They're really good. They battered us, but then played Bournemouth at Twerton Park, and like Bournemouth reserves. And a lad up front, you probably haven't heard of. I think he's in the Championship now. He's called Jaden Stockley, and he had just come back off loan from a League Two club, so he couldn't get in Bournemouth's team. I think it was Championship. Couldn't get in a team, but he was. I don't know who it was. That's more important. But he's playing week in, week out in League Two, and was scoring goals. So I was playing against him, and it was just a good talking about levels and stuff. It was a good reminder to me that I've got absolutely no business on a football league pitch ever, because he was just a lad who, not average, a professional football player playing League Two, but just so much better than me at everything. Bigger than me, stronger than me, faster than me, smarter than me. Technically, he was decent, pressed me in a smart way, and I'd try and pin him and he'd just spin me. I'd give him space, he'd turn me, beat me in the air. All that, literally nowhere near. So I'm thinking, this I can't get a game in the Championship. So how good are those boys? Yeah. And how good are the Prem? Do you know what I mean? Just to stop you. When you go and watch Southampton play, you watch Van Dijk, you think, it's easy what he's doing at the back there. He's just cruising around and clipping it around the place, marking whoever he's marking. But it was a good one for me to say that I said, no, I was ever having myself was that I should have been a professional football player. Far too many limitations. But I think that was he was the best player I've, again, maybe not names, etc., that sort of thing, but for me, I was a centre back against a centre forward, and he had me in every department. So that was the best player I played against, definitely. Not quite Ronaldo at Old Trafford like Kent, but Jaden Stockley. You never know. He might. I don't know. I think I see him pop up on Sky Sports now and then. So I don't know. I think he might be Championship. Might have got to move. Be good if he got Prem. That'd be better. Move a bit better at herself. Oh, he's a Premier League striker at least. So
being Man United.
Yeah, there you go. I say, yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that was the best. And then I think coaches. I have to say Matt, probably good coach. Was a good coach. Helped me as a player. But I probably, if you're actually thinking, am I thinking about, do I remember every one of his sessions and what he was like, how he handled the group and all that? Not really, no. But I remember on the whole, I had a really good time here. We were a good team. I think he got the better, for what we were, the group of players we had, how good, he got pretty much the best out of us, but also influenced me as on my coaching career and also gave me my first job at Southampton really as well. So he influenced us even when we finished playing. He was my coach. He was always a manager, so I think in terms of a coach, he had the biggest influence on me. It'd be Matt Hell.
Cool. Well, Dave, appreciate your time, man.
Enjoyed it.
We'll have to do this again.
No, I enjoyed it. It was a good experience. No, and yeah, very
cool.
Good.
Cheers, mate.
Very good. Cheers, mate.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Initiative podcast with me, Michael Wright. Please remember to follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at the Sports Initiative Podcast, and share this podcast with friends and family. I'll see you next week.